The hour was brought to you by the new Doritos Zinger from KFC. The delicious combination of KFC's hot and spicy Zinger and Doritos. Also available in Barbecue Zinger, limited time only. KFC Doritos Zinger, a crunch that's finger-licking good.
It's hard-hitting. It's riveting. It's the much-talked-about cover story during Nationwide at 5. Here Cliff Hughes get to the heart of the story of the day. Cover Story aired 5:30 weekdays during Nationwide at 5. Nationwide at 5. Talk radio at its best. Cover Story.
Cover Story is brought to you by JTA Credit Union, serving our members, impacting lives positively.
Multilink, roll with control. Use Multilink, save fast and accepted in more locations.
Ready to tackle that building project? Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for building supplies. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Robianne Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
In Nationwide News at this hour, death toll from Hurricane Melissa climbs to 14.
More than 70% of JPS customers without electricity post-Hurricane Melissa.
Approximately 490,380 customers, 72% of the customer base is still without power.
The U.S. government's disaster assistance response team has arrived to help with rescue efforts.
Shelters across the country remain open.
December 15 date set for Jamaica's tourism industry to return to full throttle.
In news from the rest of the world, Maduro calls on Trinidad and Tobago to unite for peace to prevent the U.S. from starting a war in the region.
King Charles strips Andrew of Prince title.
In headline sports, horse racing at Caymanas Park is on indefinite hold.
And later in our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, the health minister says arrangements are being made to relocate patients at Black River Hospital in St. Elizabeth.
You would have seen the reports on Black River. It's really bad. So the attempts are now being made to clear the roads from Mandeville to Black River to relocate about 71 patients that we have.
You'll hear more from Minister Chris Tufton.
Also in the cover story, relief and recovery efforts are now underway in the parts of the island hardest hit by Melissa. We'll get an update.
In public opinion at 6:26, we ask, what's your reaction to the images emerging from the parts of the island worst affected by Melissa? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio, and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide90FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40, the aftermath of monstrous Melissa. We'll hear from our reporters on the ground in St. Elizabeth.
At 7, the tourism minister has set a target of mid-December for Jamaica's tourism industry to be fully operational following the devastation caused by Hurricane Melissa. Portfolio Minister Ed Bartlett will join us.
And at 8, it's Jamaican Dads with Dennis Brooks, Garth Williams, Marlon Campbell, and Floyd Green.
All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90 FM, RevoNews.ai, and on the Revo News app. It's available on Google Play and the App Store. This Thursday afternoon, it's Thursday, October 30, 2025.
The hour is brought to you by the new Doritos Zinger from KFC. The delicious combination of KFC's hot and spicy Zinger and Doritos. Also available in Barbecue Zinger, limited time only. KFC Doritos Zinger, a crunch that's finger-licking good.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now the details. The death toll from Hurricane Melissa continues to rise. The police have confirmed that 5 more people lost their lives during the passage of the deadly hurricane. Those 5 deaths were confirmed in the parish of Westmoreland. This brings the death toll to 14. 5 deaths were previously confirmed in St. Elizabeth, 2 others in St. James, and 1 each in St. Catherine and Hanover. Before Hurricane Melissa made landfall, 3 people died while making preparations for its passage. Energy Minister Darrell Vaz says over 70% of customers served by Jamaica Public Service Company JPS right across the island are without electricity following Tuesday's passage of Hurricane Melissa. Minister Vaz provided the data while speaking at a media briefing at the office of the Prime Minister on Thursday. Mahiri Stewart has that story.
The Minister of Energy notes that nearly 500,000 JPS customers remain without power following Tuesday's landfall of the catastrophic Category 5 hurricane.
Over 52,000 customers were restored over the last 24 hours. Approximately 490,380 customers, 72% of the customer base is still without power. 70% of the distribution network is de-energized, with only sections of Kingston and St. Andrew, St. Catherine and St. Thomas, the main areas, being served.
As Darrell Vaz detailed the data collected by JPS island-wide, the numbers were grim. Parishes such as Clarendon and Hanover are completely without electricity.
Clarendon, totally out, 51,000 customers. Hanover, same, 16,466. KSA North, 96,000 customers, 25,000 without light. South, 60,091, only 3,946 have light. Portland, 23,000 customers, 19,000 without light. Portmore, 52,000, 31,000 without light. St. Anne, 46,000, all up without light. St. Catherine, 86,000, 50,000 without light.
St. Elizabeth, Trelawney and Westmoreland were the other 3 parishes with all customers without light. Minister Vaz says in all, over 490,000 customers are in the dark.
St. Elizabeth, 45,000, all out. St. James, 62,000, 61,000 without. St. Mary, 30,000, 29,000 without light. St. Thomas, 20,000, 4,657 without light. Trelawney, fully out at 20,712. Westmoreland, 34,000, all without light. So, total customers out as of October 29th, 542,000, and customers restored over the last 24 hours, 52,000, leaving 490,000 without.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, the JPS says major transmission corridors across the island remain compromised. In a statement on Thursday, the Light and Power Company says it's partnering with the Jamaica Defence Force to continue helicopter patrols to have a better understanding of the scope of repairs required. JPS CEO and President Hugh Grant says full restoration will take time given the extent of the structural damage. He says a rebuild of significant portions of the network will be required based on the damage. JPS is urging the public to exercise extreme caution around downed power lines and damaged electrical equipment.
The U.S. government's Disaster Assistance Response Team, DART, has arrived on the island to assist the Jamaican authorities with rescue efforts in the wake of Hurricane Melissa. The team of approximately 30 personnel with rescue dogs and supplies is the first of what is expected to be 2 teams from the United States. The U.S. Embassy made the announcement on Thursday. The response team has been deployed in keeping with the mandate of the U.S. Foreign Assistance Unit, where Washington provides rapid response assistance to international disasters. DART consists of specialists trained in a variety of disaster relief skills.
Shelters across the island remain open. That's the word from local government minister Desmond McKenzie in response to reports circulating on social media that shelters would have been closed at midday today, Thursday.
The shelters will remain in operation, especially in the parishes that have been severely affected by the passage of the hurricane. We are making arrangements as I speak to get igloos with ice and water and food supplies to these affected areas. Over the next 2 days, a massive relief program between ODPEM, the Ministry of Labour, and our partners will intensify to get relief supplies to the various communities.
Almost 6,000 people sought refuge in over 500 shelters as Hurricane Melissa battered the country. Minister McKenzie says many people have since returned home.
the numbers in the shelters would have reduced substantially over the last day because many persons who went to the shelter out of precaution have left those facilities and have gone back home. So we are down to about 13,000 persons within shelters. I know we can't speak specifically to the 4 parishes that has been devastated because the communications with those parishes is very difficult.
Desmond McKenzie, Minister of Local Government.
Meanwhile, Minister McKenzie says over 150 communities across western parishes were impacted by Melissa.
Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Trelawney, and over Westmoreland and St. James. Over 170 communities within these parishes have been moderately or severely affected by flooding, land slippage, and other aspects of Hurricane Melissa.
He says relief operations are already underway.
The relief operation continue in collaboration with national and international partners, including World Food Program, UNICEF, SIDEMA, and other such agencies, the Red Cross, the Salvation Army, and thousands of well-thinking Jamaicans. Already, Minister Williams met the Caymanian delegation, and more relief supplies are en route to Jamaica.
Desmond McKenzie, Minister of Local Government.
The United Nations Children's Fund UNICEF Jamaica has allocated $1 million to support immediate emergency response efforts in the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa. UNICEF made the announcement in a statement on Thursday. It says the funding will provide urgent assistance to children and families affected by the widespread devastation which has displaced thousands and severely damaged homes and critical infrastructure across multiple parishes. According to UNICEF, nearly 300,000 children are now in urgent need of help in the areas of health, education, nutrition, and protection after the Category 5 hurricane battered sections of the country. The severe disruption of access to clean water and essential services has put many children and women at increased risk. UNICEF says it has begun working closely with the government of Jamaica and other partners to assess needs and distribute pre-positioned emergency supplies. These include food, clean water, medicines, and hygiene kits. Additional humanitarian aid is also on standby and ready to be airlifted to the island as needed. UNICEF is also appealing to individual donors, the private sector, and philanthropic partners to contribute through flexible funding mechanisms that enable rapid and targeted assistance where it is most needed.
Gilbert was a baby to Melissa. That's how one St. Elizabeth resident summed up the damage caused by the hurricane. The man, Alric Stevenson, spoke with our news centre as they absorbed the damage across the parish on Wednesday.
This is the wickedest storm me ever buck up in my whole life, man. I tell you, I want dangerous storm my family.
You there when Gilbert happened?
Yeah, me there. Gilbert a baby to this, man. I want to you, man. This is a tough and this is a category 20. To his speed and the power where this have. No, man, I want to you. He lift up all cow and drop. Right, I'm lose that one big one mother cow over here, so kill him dead. Lift up the cow and kill him. I want to you. Lord Jesus. Boat, hog, all my wife all come sit there. The whole of them, I have to carry go back to dash them with.
St. Elizabeth was one of several parishes which suffered the brunt of the heavy rain and wind associated with the weather event. Residents across Westmoreland, Hanover, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Catherine, St. James and Clarendon are also left picking up the pieces as livelihoods lie in ruins. The issue has been compounded by a loss of power and internet connectivity, preventing contact with loved ones. Stevenson showed our news centre the extent of the damage to his home. He says he's uncertain about his next move.
The whole heap of thing my lose, man. God know me that him know me I'll come back by God, believe me.
Oh, you'll get through the night now, because it look like it's a rain and the roof still gone.
Boy, you hear me? Trust me, my family, the whole show wet, you know. Everything gone, my family. Everything gone. Whole place wet, everything gone, my family. Look and see what What's going on?
So if you could talk to me about what it was like during the storm.
Boy, my family, may I tell you my family, what is time, Lord Jesus, my family, may I tell you, I feel it to my heart, man. Yeah, me just shaking, nervy. My family, I can't tell you. Believe me, my family.
And you were in here while the roof was lifting?
Yeah, man, we not left.
Alric Stevenson, resident of St. Elizabeth.
You're listening to Nationwide News at 5. More news after these.
See twice the style for less at IQ Optical. Buy one pair of glasses and get your second and third pair half price. Don't miss out. Call 876-929-7732 or visit IQ Optical today, where clarity never looked sharper.
The time by IQ Optical is
5:14.
Rentokil Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rentokil Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rentokil is...
It's 30 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 28 in Montego Bay.
This is a public service announcement from JPS. The JPS Customer Care Center, which is technically supported in Western Jamaica, is unavailable due to infrastructural damage. This means customers will not be able to get through on the toll-free line. Customers can, however, make contact with the company via web chat on its website at jpsco.com, on its social media pages at MyJPS Online, and through the MyJPS mobile app. JPS thanks you for your patience and understanding at this time. That was a public service announcement from JPS.
Continuing the news, Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett has set a December 15 target for the industry to regain full operational status following the damage caused by Hurricane Melissa. Tourism is the country's chief foreign exchange earner. Khaleesi Wright reports.
The Tourism Ministry has established a Hurricane Melissa Recovery Task Force and a Companion Tourism Resilience Coordination Committee. The groups are to work in tandem to get Jamaica's tourism industry back on track after being severely impacted by Hurricane Melissa. Portfolio Minister Edmund Bartlett says the government is aligning marketing, communications, infrastructure repairs, aid, logistics, and enabling support behind a single objective, full industry operation by December 15. Tourism is one of the major drivers of the Jamaican economy, contributing over 30% of the country's GDP. The task force is chaired by John Biles of Chukka Caribbean Adventures and includes senior figures from across the sector. Among them, Tova Hamilton, Professor Lloyd Waller, Jennifer Griffith, Adam Stewart, Ian Dare, Donovan White, Jessica Shannon, and Christopher Jarrett. The group will fast-track repairs, remove bottlenecks, and ensure readiness across hotels, attractions, airports, and key tourism corridors. The committee, branded Tourism Cares, aims to drive recovery and coordinate public-private sector action. Chaired by Jessica Shannon of Sandals Resorts International, it will mobilize donations, technical expertise, and volunteer support for affected tourism workers, small businesses, and communities. The committee will coordinate its efforts with the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management. Minister Bartlett says both groups will work closely with the Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center to apply lessons from previous recovery efforts. Khaleesi Wright for Nationwide News.
Education Minister Dr. Dana Morris-Dixon says schools spared major damage by Hurricane Melissa are set to reopen on Monday.
In the areas that were not badly affected, we're in Kingston, and when you drive around Kingston, you see some fallen trees, but it's not bad at all. That's not the case in other parts. So where we know that schools can resume, we will be doing so on Monday.
Hurricane Melissa destroyed several schools across the island. In Westmoreland, sections of the Mannings School were demolished. The grade 11 block at St. Elizabeth Technical High School was also destroyed. In Clarendon, footage shows part of the roof at Edwin Allen High lifting. Minister Morris-Dixon says an emergency plan is being activated for children in the worst-hit parishes.
A lot of our schools do not have electricity and they do not have water, even in places that weren't as badly affected. And so we're doing the assessments and we are looking at an emergency plan. I've asked Senator Marlon Morgan to work primarily on this emergency plan because we're going to have a plan for children in Westmoreland, in Hanover, in St. Elizabeth and in St. James. And so we are working through that and we will give you updates at the appropriate time.
Dr. Dana Morris Dixon, Minister of Education.
More than 100 of the nation's roads remain completely blocked following the passage of Hurricane Melissa. Works Minister Robert Morgan provided the update at a media briefing on Thursday.
Up to early this morning, more than 151 roads have been reported affected island-wide. Of this amount, 134 are still blocked. We have fully cleared 11 roads and we have partially cleared to single lane 41 roads. Primary consideration has to be given based on our mandate to corridors which include health facilities such as hospitals and clinics and health centers, airports and seaports. We have to provide access to cell towers to ensure that Jamaicans have access to telephony. We have to provide access to major road corridors.
The Category 5 hurricane caused landslides, flooding, felled trees, downed power lines, and left other debris in its wake. Minister Morgan says work has been delayed on several roads due to downed electrical wires.
Across the island, a large percentage of the Jamaica Public Service facilities are lying on the road. The contractors cannot touch those power lines without the Jamaica Public Service Company saying to us it is safe for us to do so. So we have a very close relationship with the Jamaica Public Service Company. So many persons would be calling and saying the NWA tractor is sitting there waiting. It is waiting because for safety purposes, we can't touch the line unless we get a clearance. Even though it may look like there is no power, our contractors cannot be sure.
Robert Morgan, Works Minister.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has called on citizens of neighboring Trinidad and Tobago to prevent the United States from starting a war in the Caribbean. In a televised community event on Wednesday, Maduro said he had sent the people a message that they are brothers. Let us unite for peace, he urged. Maduro's statement comes amid rising tensions between the two countries and a powerful U.S. military presence off the Venezuelan coast. A U.S. warship, the USS Gravely, has arrived in Port of Spain on Sunday, where it was expected to remain until Thursday for joint military operations. The U.S. military buildup is perceived as an attempt by U.S. President Donald Trump to force regime change in Caracas. Maduro says America is sowing discord, intrigue, hatred, and xenophobia among neighboring people who have lived together peacefully all their lives.
Prince Andrew is being stripped of his prince title and will leave his Windsor mansion, Royal Lodge. Buckingham Palace says the king has today initiated a formal process and his brother will now be known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. As well as the title, the palace says formal notice has now been served to surrender the lease on Royal Lodge. Andrew will move to the royal estate in Sandringham, Norfolk. The palace says these censures are deemed necessary, notwithstanding the fact that he continues to deny the allegations against him. Andrew gave up his other royal titles earlier this month, including the Duke of York, after more questions about his private life. In a posthumous memoir, Virginia Giuffre repeated allegations that, as a teenager, she had sex with Prince Andrew on 3 separate occasions. Andrew has always denied the claims. Also this month, emails from 2011 re-emerged showing Andrew in contact with sex offender Jeffrey Epstein months after he claimed their friendship ended.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, death toll from Hurricane Melissa climbs to 14.
More than 70% of JPS customers without electricity post-Hurricane Melissa.
The U.S. government's disaster assistance response team has arrived to help with rescue efforts.
Shelters across the country remain open.
December 15 date set for Jamaica's tourism industry to return to full throttle. I'm Robianne Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
You can find the news on our website at revonews.ai and on the Revo News app. It's available on Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
Doritos and KFC, cheesy delicious, crunchy, new collaboration run the country. Doritos Zinger, hot and spicy. Doritos nacho cheese chips, cheddar cheese sauce. We not leave it. KFC with the extra crunch. The new Doritos Zinger, I want for lunch. The new KFC Doritos Zinger, the delicious combination of KFC's hot and spicy zinger and the irresistible flavor of Doritos. Available for a limited time. KFC and Doritos, a crunch that's finger-licking good.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. Total Tools, every tool, every trade.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. The nation's premier horse racing facility, Caymanas Park, is reeling from damage suffered at the hands of Hurricane Melissa, which ravaged large parts of the island on Tuesday. Some 60 stalls were affected, including 10 owned by former three-time champion trainer Anthony Nunes. A massive cleanup project is also soon to be underway, with nearly 45 fallen trees creating a further nightmare. Solomon Sharp is chairman of Supreme Ventures Racing and Entertainment Limited, operators of the park, and he told Nationwide Sports on Thursday that there's lots of work to be done.
So we weren't spared at all. We did get a hit. The whole commentary booth was destroyed. The commentators. And they have the best vantage point. But, you know, the greater the risk, the greater reward. So, you know, they're in the most risky position. So we're going to have to rebuild that. Trainer Nunes had 10 stalls compromised. Trainer Smith, another 8. And there are some other niggling issues. So all told, there are about 60 stalls that have been compromised. But we've been pulling together as a unit. We've been emphasizing on the husband that this is not a Supreme Ventures Racing problem. This is everybody's issue where we have to be all in and we have to pull together.
Sharp says while they didn't get the brunt of the hurricane, it touched and affected enough areas to cause discomfort at the park. They are yet to get back electricity, which he says is now a concern, especially to the trainers who are complaining about the horses becoming a bit agitated. Half of the OTB system is down, given the huge damage to at least 7 parishes, while 2 farms, Wise Falls in St. Elizabeth and Orange Valley in Trelawney, have been badly hit. The Sharp says they can't say for sure when live racing will be back at the park, as even the big Jamaica Cup weekend next Saturday seem impossible at this moment.
So we don't know because, you know, we haven't gotten back light throughout the plant. We do have some of the plant that is on solar, but we're still doing the uplink test for the dish network, and we might have simulcast tomorrow, and then live racing for next weekend for the Jamaica Cup weekend is 50-50. I would say it's more 40% than 50% right now to happen, but we have to depend on the entire network.
That's Solomon Sharp, chairman of Supreme Ventures Racing and Entertainment Limited, operators of Caymanas Park. Cricket now, West Indies will go in search of a 3-0 series sweep over Bangladesh when they clash in the third game of their 3-match T20 International Series in Chattogram tomorrow morning, Jamaica time, starting at 7 o'clock. The Windies pulled off narrow victories by 14 and 16 runs respectively in the first 2 games, and the win on Friday would see them avenging the 3-0 series loss suffered at the hands of Bangladesh the last time the teams met in a T20 International Series. And the West Indies is expected to go in with the same 11 which played in Chattogram on Wednesday. India pulled off the greatest chase in women's one-day international cricket to storm into the ICC Women's World Cup final. The hosts successfully chased down a record 339-run victory target in Mumbai to beat the defending champions Australia by 5 wickets in their semi-final showdown on Thursday. Jemima Rodriguez came up big for India. She slammed an impressive 127 to steer them to the target of 341 for 5 in 48 overs and 3 balls. Captain Harmanpreet Kaur, she made 89 against Kim Garth and Annabelle Sutherland, who picked up 2 wickets apiece. Earlier, Fabian Litchfield cracked 119 to help the Aussies to 338 all out with a ball left in their allotment. Elise Perry weighed in with 77 and Ashley Gardner made 63. India will now take on South Africa in that massive final on Sunday. Premier League high flyers Arsenal were drawn to meet fellow Premier League campaigners Crystal Palace in the pick of the bunch of the quarter-final ties in the Carabao Cup in England. This will be the second meeting of the season between the two Londoners. Their first meeting ended last weekend, actually. In fact, Sunday of this week. And Arsenal won that one by 1-0. Champions Newcastle United, they will be at home to Fulham in their quarter-final. Chelsea, they get a favourable draw, you know. They'll visit Wales to play Cardiff City. And Manchester City will host Brentford. The ties will be played in the week commencing December 15. Lord Sebastian Coe, president of World Athletics, says the organization is determined to recover monies lost due to corporate theft. The recent discovery of the theft amounting to 1.5 million euros has already led to the sacking of several members of staff at the organization. Lord Coe, in a statement, says too many organizations brush aside incidents like this under the carpet, terminating employees with limited information, which allows perpetrators to continue their scams and left within the new organization. He says we're not that type of organization. World Athletics added that detailed cases were already handed over to judicial and legal authorities for criminal investigation. And finally, in sports at this time, just going back to cricket here for a bit, because a 17-year-old boy in Melbourne, Australia, has died after being struck on the neck by a ball at training on Tuesday. Ben Austin was taken to hospital in critical condition after the incident at Ferntree Gully in Melbourne, where he had been facing balls in the nets thrown ahead of a T20 game. He was wearing a helmet but did not include a stem guard. He was placed on life support at Monza Children's Hospital but died on Thursday morning. And that's sports. We're going to be back with more at 6:05.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. Total Tools, every tool, every trade. From Kingston to the world, from Montego Bay to new adventures, and from Ocherias to endless possibilities. Wherever you're headed, we will proudly take you there. Jamaica's Airport, your global gateway. The temperature brought to you by the Airports Authority of Jamaica is
30 degrees Celsius here in the nation's capital, Kingston. It's 28 in the western city, Montego Bay.
Every school is free of unhealthy, ultra-processed products. You know, those high in salt, fats, and sugar. If only that weren't a dream. The reality is that many children have an unhealthy diet at school, and 23% of them are overweight or obese. This can lead to hypertension, heart disease, and type 2 diabetes. Let's protect our children's right to health with a policy for schools that prevents unhealthy food marketing and ensures access to nutritious foods. The time is now. Let's implement the National School Nutrition Policy. A message from the Heart Foundation of Jamaica and partners.
Doritos and KFC, cheesy, delicious, crunchy. New collaboration, run the country. Doritos Zinger, hot and spicy. Doritos nacho cheese chips, cheddar cheese sauce. We not leave it. KFC with the extra crunch. The new Doritos Zinger, I want for lunch. The new KFC Doritos Zinger, the delicious combination of KFC's hot and spicy zinger and the irresistible flavor of Doritos. Available for a limited time. KFC and Doritos, a crunch that's finger-licking good.
Need to make a change to your title or need a title? GeoLand Title Limited is the place to be. They do lost title application, add and remove names from titles, wills, estates, first-time registration, land surveys included, affordable rates and flexible payment options, National Land Agency adjudication and land titling waivers available. They have 8 locations island-wide. Call 876-754-6436 or visit their website at geolandonline.com. GeoLand Title Limited. Secure your land, secure your title.
Doritos and KFC, cheesy delicious, crunchy, new collaboration run the country. Doritos Zinger, hot and spicy. Doritos nacho cheese chips, cheddar cheese sauce. We not leave it, KFC with the extra crunch. The new Doritos Zinger, I want for lunch. The new KFC Doritos Zinger, the delicious combination of KFC's hot and spicy zinger and the irresistible flavor of Doritos. Available for a limited time. KFC and Doritos, a crunch that's finger-licking good.
I'm Dennis Brooks.
I'm Marlon Campbell.
I'm Floyd Green.
And I'm Garth Williams. Catch us on the Jamaican Dads podcast right here on Nationwide 90 FM, Thursdays at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m.
The Jamaican Dads podcast is all about providing men with a healthy, safe, and functional forum to tackle many of the taboo topics that concern our masculinity.
Like everyone else out there, we're dads of varying amounts of experience who come from different backgrounds and often view the world differently.
We're definitely not perfect, but we are all brethren and we're all committed to this piece of rock called Jamaica.
Too often, there are no safe spaces for men to explore the issues which are important to us.
Plus, most of the content out there about parenthood is produced by women, for women. So we think it is important that we be the change we want to see.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jamaican Dads with a Z.
And definitely join us here on Nationwide 90 FM every Thursday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m. for the Jamaican Dads podcast. It's a revolution in media.
Cover Story is brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
Multilink. Access every time, everywhere I go. Multilink. 24/7 access for me. It's just a win-win when we use Multilink. This card is Jamaican built, yeah. Fast and secure, you can use anywhere. Spend while supporting the economy.
Look for the Multilink logo on your card and benefit from Jamaica's largest debit payment network.
Multilink, 24/7 access for me.
What would I do without my Multilink?
Good afternoon, listeners and viewers. It is 5:36. Welcome. It's Thursday, and it's time for the Cover Story. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
My name is Sanjay Lewis. Good afternoon to you, Siobhan. Good afternoon to our listeners. Our cover story this
afternoon.
Before
we get into it, Sanjay, just a little bit of news coming in. Some sad news, unfortunately. It's understood that radio personality and one of the country's most celebrated DJs, that's Barry G, given name Barrington Gordon, has died. It's understood he passed away at the Savannah Lamar Hospital in Westmoreland yesterday. He was 70 years old, and the given cause of death was pneumonia. He was a graduate of Kingston College, and he joined the Jamaica Broadcasting Corporation, JBC, in the 1970s. He has also hosted shows such as the Boogie Down Show on Saturdays, and he later hosted the Super Mix, which made him the #1 disc jockey in Jamaica for most of the 1980s. I mean, for most Jamaicans growing up, even today, I would believe, would know Barry G, the Boogeyman, and this is unfortunate news coming into our news center this afternoon. So, our condolences to his family and to the wider media fraternity.
Indeed, and Barry G, he rose to prominence, Siobhan, in the late 1970s, working with the now defunct JBC, moved to Radio Jamaica, and had stints at several other media entities until he retired in January of 2020. And I grew up listening to Barry G also, so condolences there to his family. Now, we'll move to the first half. Our cover story this afternoon is in 2 parts. And for the first half, listeners will be playing some clips, and that from Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton, because he says Arrangements are being made to relocate patients at Black River Hospital in St. Elizabeth due to the scale of the damage at the facility caused by Hurricane Melissa. He gave an update during a tour of devastated areas.
I'm currently in Negril, trying to work my way to Sub Hospital. The roads are a little treacherous, but we're taking our time. Understand that severe damage is there, and just want to check on the staff, look at what is happening with patients. Before that, I went to Black River yesterday. The hospital is devastated, very damaged. We had to airlift with the help of the JDF and the Honorable Prime Minister's coordination. 3 babies and 2 adults to the University Hospital, which took place yesterday, including 1 doctor who was injured during the storm. You would have seen the reports on Black River and St. Elizabeth generally. It's really bad. So the attempts are now being made to clear the roads from Mandeville to Black River to relocate about 71 patients that we have. The patients are fine, the staff are there, but the hospital is badly damaged, seawall gone. It's in a really bad state. I then went to Cornwall Regional, where the facilities there have been damaged, the temporary facilities in particular, not the main building that we're renovating, even though there is some damage there, as would have been expected, because it's open and exposed. But the areas where we house patients, the maternity ward, the general ward space, which were extensions of the nurses' quarters, the balconies were converted into ward space just by covering with roof and electrics. The wind lift the zinc, and we have lost, I would say, maybe 100 or so beds space, maybe a little more. Still have patients there, they're still coping. The team are now assessing the electrical supplies to try and ensure that the generator works for the entire building. Because of the water, they have to make sure that if they put the power on there's no electrocution. Dietary has been affected also with the flooding. The water tanks on the roof at Cornwall were blown. Flying debris compromised some of the water tanks, so they've had some issues with water, but we're trying to make arrangement with NWC. The A&E roof was lifted, had to be relocated into the diagnostic center next door. Very cramped space, so it's very difficult. But there is generator capacity, so electricity and water, which is good. So they're now trying to restore the A&E, which is the Mount Salem Clinic, expanded to try and get patients back into that larger space. But as of now, they're in the diagnostic center next door, and the space is very limited. Then I left there. We maneuvered slowly to Noel Homes, where significant damage at Noel Homes, roof damage in particular, the nurses' quarters, doctors' quarters, the health center, roof all significantly compromised, so no one can stay there. The maternity ward had to be evacuated, roof damage, dietary. The wards also, they have about 25 patients. When I left last night, the doctors and nurses have been working triple shifts to hold the area and to man the area. Patients are safe. No injuries reported, but they are in a kind of makeshift ward along the corridors where the roof was not as badly compromised. But Noel Homes will need significant roof repairs to restore some semblance of normality.
That's Dr. Christopher Tufton, the country's health minister, giving us the update on the tragic circumstances there over in St. Elizabeth regarding the health facilities. Well, the health minister says field hospitals will have to be constructed to continue patient care.
Maneuvered from there into Negril, where a lot of damage is, and now trying to get this morning to Sav Lamar Hospital, where we understand that a lot of damage has been taking place. So we're going to now try to maneuver the roads to get into Sav. There are reports that I'm getting, some of it not yet confirmed, so I'd rather not comment on that. As I see it now, we're likely to require maybe a field hospital or two in a few of the areas, Black River, maybe Noel Homes, and maybe even Cornwall. I'll see what happens at SAV. Some coordination is taking place to support those efforts, but also to quickly assess and to bring back the areas that we can bring up quickly so that we can continue to provide emergency and patient care with the other elective procedures being suspended for now. The staff welfare is another big concern for us because a number of the staff in the respective institutions along the coastline, along those parishes, have not gone home, and their homes have been damaged in some instances. They're not in touch with their family members, so I'm very concerned about that. We're making some provisions to the extent that our logistics arrangements at the hospitals are functional and the roads are passable to at least take them to their homes to communicate with their loved ones, even if they have to return to man their stations. So that's a big concern of ours. As I see it, apart from the cleanup that is going to be required, the psychosocial support is going to be very important, and the team are now discussing that. Outside of the basic supplies, which other agencies, ministries are coordinating, from a health perspective, the devastation would have created significant psychological impact on citizens in places like Black River, but right along the coastline, St. James, southern St. James, parts of Hanover, and of course Westmoreland badly hit. And the intention from health, outside of trying to restore the infrastructure, is to provide a human element support, not just to heal the wounds, but to heal the scars that are left mentally on a number of persons who would have been impacted, because the devastation is that great. Most persons would never have experienced this kind of devastation, and so we're trying to put some systems in place so to do. For now, that's what I have to say, leaving Negril now to head to SAV to see what is happening.
Dr. Christopher Tufton there, the country's health minister, giving us some update in terms of the situation of our health facilities. Well, listeners, we take the break, and when we come back, we are going to discuss recovery efforts with the Colonel of the JDF, Damian Curry.
Protecting your personal data is a priority for the Jamaica Customs Agency. We urge you to use the agency's official platforms to conduct your business. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is...
It's 5:46.
MSME operators, the NWC MSME Amnesty is a lifeline. Grab it. Apply between September 1 and November 30, 2025. Visit nwcjamaica.com. Email us at customercare@nwc.com.jm. You can also visit any commercial office or dial 888-NWC. Get a 50% debt write-off on your small commercial account if you pay all other outstanding debts or sign a payment agreement to do so in 3 months. Apply today.
Is your money idling when it could be thriving? With CIBC Caribbean's fixed deposit offering, you can take charge of your cash. With 50,000 Jamaican to start, choose terms from 30 days to 2 years. Lock in your funds and enjoy premium rates guaranteed to grow your wealth. Whether you're eyeing short or long-term gains, our fixed deposit accounts puts you firmly in control of your money. Now is the time to open a CIBC fixed deposit account and start earning more today. CIBC, ambitions made real.
Everybody needs a helping hand, somebody to understand. In the end, we're all human. For people living with HIV, no discrimination. Here to support them through. Respect you as usual. Got to protect them too. One of your friend or your family, somebody in your community. People living with HIV. Protect, accept, and respect people living with HIV. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers, to the cover story. As I said, we're switching gears well, not switching gears, but on the same track, different subject, where search and rescue efforts are underway in several parts of the island following the passage of Hurricane Melissa. The Category 5 system barreled through the western end of the island on Tuesday, leaving mass destruction in its wake. At least 9 bodies have been found.
In the meantime, a U.S. military search and rescue team is expected to fly into the Norman Manley International Airport on Thursday to assist with the relief effort. The flight is among at least 6 relief trips scheduled for the Kingston Airport. Transport Minister Darrell Vaz gave the details on Nationwide this morning.
Information that I have so far is that we're expecting 6 relief flights coming into Norman Manley today, including 2 U.S. military relief flights. So that's a good start because, as you know, we need all assistance that we can get in terms of not only supplies but personnel as well. I'm sure that there is one flight that will be bringing personnel for search and rescue, which is always a part of the recovery process. I know that the JDF and the JCF have started that, and we would have heard the bad news yesterday. But obviously we'll be able to move quicker if we get that support.
That is Transport Minister Darrell Vaz. Well, the NMIA reopened for relief flights at 4 p.m. on Wednesday. Sangster International in Montego Bay was set to begin welcoming relief flights on Thursday. And meanwhile, the Ian Fleming International Airport in Boscobel St. Anne is open to both relief and commercial flights. Minister Vaz says there are numerous requests to send relief. And the Jamaica Defence Force requested that all members of the first class of the Jamaican National Reserve JNR report to their respective duty stations effective today.
Well, JDF says this forms part of its relief efforts in the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa. It says relief personnel will be deployed to various operations, including search and rescue missions, logistics coordination, and security of high-risk areas. JDF says personnel will work in close partnership with the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management. Well, joining us now to discuss further is Colonel General Staff at the JDF, Colonel Damian Creary. Good afternoon, Colonel Creary.
Good afternoon to you, and good afternoon to your listeners.
Well, thank you as always for joining us. Can you give us an update on the JDF's overall operation since the passage of Hurricane Melissa?
Okay, so the JDF approaches operation, on a phased basis essentially. So the first phase was our preparation for the passage of the hurricane, because as you can imagine, there was a lot that had to go into mitigation measures, and then also being pre-prepared and pre-positioned to respond to our citizens across the country. Now, subsequent to the passage of the hurricane, we went into what we refer to as the emergency phase. Now, in the emergency phase, what we're primarily concerned with is the immediate response to save lives and alleviate suffering. That has been ongoing since the passage of the hurricane, and it continues, and we expect that effort will continue at least for another 5 or 6 days, as we still have many citizens across the country who are in dangerous situations and in need of urgent assistance. This urgent assistance, it ranges from actually being rescued from threatening waters in some areas still for some landslides and other dangerous conditions, and for some it's simply a matter of getting food and water to them because they're in areas that might have been cut off.
Could you just give us an understanding as to how those rescue efforts are going so far? Have you been able to reach how many people?
The rescue efforts have been going very well so far. Now, before I seek to speak to the actual numbers of persons that we have reached, let me just indicate that I am aware, or we are aware, that there are still many citizens that are in distress that we have not gotten to as yet. Now, as you know, the country suffered significant devastation, and it has been very difficult to get to some communities, notwithstanding our pre-positioning and the resources that we have brought to bear. The sheer magnitude of the destruction has delayed our response in some areas in a significant way. And so for those communities that we have not gotten yet, we're still working our way, clearing the roads to get to them, and for some of them we're seeking to get to them via airlift.
Yeah, we know at least 9 bodies have been recovered so far. Are JDF search and rescue operations still ongoing, and do you expect those numbers to change as the access improves?
Yes, the efforts to in that regard are still ongoing and will be ongoing, until the water subsides in the various communities that we still have high water, and of course, areas where landslides and debris have to be cleared. As conditions improve and we have further access into communities, unfortunately, the numbers might change.
So tell me, Colonel, in which areas are giving you the most difficulty in terms of passage? Which corridors remain essentially difficult to traverse for the JDF at this time?
Okay, so there are some areas in Westmoreland, in particular, that we have not gotten to as yet because the areas are simply, just simply very difficult. It took us a fairly long time to get through to Black River, traveling from east to west rather, through Holland Bamboo. That direction going into Black River. That took a particularly long time simply because of how significant the roadblocks were. There are certain areas of St. James as well that still remain difficult to access, and for those areas, Westmoreland, St. James, and certain areas of Hanover that we are reprioritizing in terms of our flights to get additional aerial reconnaissance and additional relief drops into those areas.
And we understand U.S. military personnel are expected to arrive to assist. Talk to me, what specific areas will they be working alongside your teams in search, airlift, or humanitarian distribution?
Well, the U.S. military will be working in support of the JDF, whilst the JDF works in support of our national architecture, i.e. the OTPEM and the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. The U.S. military will support us in all the areas that you just mentioned, actually. So to enhance our capability to deliver HADR support in terms of relief packages being distributed, in terms of our aerial reconnaissance and ability to assist the OTPEM with the damage assessment and impact assessment that's necessary at this time.
And tell me, in terms of coordination, how is that taking place between DART, OTPEM, the JDF? Where is that being handled?
Okay, that's been handled through the National Emergency Operations Center set up at the OTPEM. As you know, that is the body that is designated with such a responsibility at this time. And there are many agencies of government that sit on that body, and the coordination takes place in a large way right there. But given the scale of this response, obviously there is coordination even outside of that at various levels.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of equipment or technology are you utilizing to support your search effort? Is it that you're utilizing drones? I know that you're utilizing helicopters, but what else?
So we're using the two things that you just mentioned. That's correct. But perhaps just as significant is not the technology but the human resource that we have deployed in support of the effort. We have deployed primarily in the most hard-hit parishes, just under 3,000 soldiers at this point, and they, along with the average citizens of Jamaica, some of whom have been severely impacted, continue to gather the information to feed into our database to create a full picture of what the devastation has been. So really, I must take this opportunity to thank the citizens who have suffered a lot, but still help us by giving the information about the damage that they have seen in their communities and the damage that they themselves have experienced, to help us populate the databases to be able to feed into the mechanism at ODPEM, so that the government can respond in the way that it sees fit.
That's Colonel General Staff Damien Curry. Thank you for joining us, Colonel, and good luck with the relief and rescue efforts.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
All the best to you.
And just to update listeners, two things. Unfortunately, the death toll, as reported earlier, has risen to, I believe it's 14 individuals confirmed have passed from Hurricane Melissa, and our condolences to the family as usual. And further, eagle-eyed YouTube viewers as usual pointing out it's not Boscobel St. Anne. My apologies, it is Boscobel St. Mary. I read it and glossed over it, and as usual YouTube was caught what even I missed. So
I have a listener from St. Mary who sent me a strong message to say, what is it that we have done to St. Mary? So we apologize, Ricardo. That's the name of the listener. It's St. Mary. Yeah.
So thank you for that correction. Yes, it is Boscobel St. Mary. So the headlines are next, listeners, and then we come back with more.
Cover Story was brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations. The hour was brought to you by the new Doritos Zinger from KFC. The delicious combination of KFC's hot and spicy Zinger and Doritos. Also available in Barbecue Zinger, limited time only. KFC Doritos Zinger, a crunch that's finger-licking good.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is
2 minutes after 6.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. The death toll from Hurricane Melissa continues to rise. The police have confirmed that 5 more people lost their lives during the passage of the deadly hurricane. Those 5 deaths were confirmed in Westmoreland. This brings the total death toll to 14. Energy Minister Darrell Vaz says over 70% of customers served by Jamaica Public Service Company JPS right across the island are without electricity following Tuesday's passage of Hurricane Melissa.
Over 52,000 customers were restored over the last 24 hours. Approximately 490,380 customers, 72% of the customer base is still without power. 70% of the distribution network is de-energized, with only sections of Kingston and St. Andrew, St. Catherine and St. Thomas, the main areas, being served.
Parishes such as Clarendon and Hanover are completely without electricity. St. Elizabeth, Trelawney and Westmoreland were the other 3 parishes with all customers without light. Minister Vaz says in all, over 490,000 customers are in the dark.
St. Elizabeth, 45,000 all out. St. James, 62,000, 61,000 without. St. Mary, 30,000, 29,000 without light. St. Thomas, 20,000, 4,657 without light. Trelawney, fully out at 20,712. Westmoreland, 34,000, all without light. So, total customers out as of October 29th, 542,000, and customers restored over the last 24 hours, 52,000, leaving 490,000 without.
Darla Vaz, Energy Minister. Shelters across the island remain open. That's the word from Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie in response to reports circulating on social media that shelters would have been closed at midday today.
The shelters will remain in operation, especially in the parishes that have been severely affected by the passage of the hurricane. We are making arrangements as I speak to get igloos with ice and water and food supplies to these affected areas. Over the next 2 days, a massive relief program between ODPEM, the Ministry of Labour, and our partners will intensify to get relief supplies to the various communities.
Almost 6,000 people sought refuge in over 500 shelters as Hurricane Melissa battered the country. Minister McKenzie says many people have since returned home.
The numbers in the shelters would have reduced substantially over the last day because many persons who went to the shelter out of precaution have left those facilities and have gone back home. So we are down to about 13,000 persons within shelters. I know we can't speak specifically to the 4 parishes that has been devastated because the communications with those parishes is very difficult.
Meanwhile, Minister McKenzie says over 150 communities across western parishes were impacted by Melissa. He says relief operations are already underway.
The relief operation continue in collaboration with national and international partners, including World Food Programme, UNICEF, SIDEMA, and other such agencies, the Red Cross, the Salvation Army, and thousands of well-thinking Jamaicans. Already, Minister Williams met the Caymanian delegation, and more relief supplies are en route to Jamaica.
Desmond McKenzie, Minister of Local Government. Gilbert was a baby to Melissa. That's how one St. Elizabeth resident summed up the damage caused by Hurricane Melissa. The man, Alric Stevenson, spoke with our news team as they absorbed the damage across the parish on Wednesday.
This is the wickedest storm I ever buck up in my whole life, man. I tell you, I want dangerous storm before me.
You there when Gilbert happened?
Yeah, me there. Gilbert a baby to this, man. I want to you, man. This is tough and this is a category 20. To his speed and the power where this have. No, man, I want to you. He lift up all cow and drop. Right, I'm lose that one big one with a cow over here, so kill him dead. Lift up the cow and kill him. I want to you. Lord Jesus. Boat, hog, all my white folk come sit there. The whole of them, they have to carry and go back to dash them with.
St. Elizabeth was one of several parishes which suffered the brunt of the heavy rain and wind associated with the weather event. Residents across Westmoreland, Hanover, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Catherine, St. James and Clarendon are also left picking up the pieces as livelihoods lie in ruins. The issue has been compounded by loss of power and internet connectivity, preventing contact with the loved ones. Mr. Stevenson says he's uncertain about his next move.
The whole heap of thing I lose, man. God know me that him know me I'll come back by God, believe me.
Oh, you'll get through the night now, because it look like it's a rain and the roof still gone.
Boy, you hear me? Trust me, my family, the whole through wet, you know. Everything gone, my family. Everything gone. Whole place wet, everything gone, my family. Look and see what What's going on?
So if you could talk to me about what it was like during the storm.
Boy, my family, may I tell you my family, what is storm, Lord Jesus, my family, may I tell you, I feel it to my heart, man. Yeah, me just shaking, nervy. My family, I can't tell you. Believe me, my family.
And you were in here while the roof was lifting?
Yeah, man, we not left.
Ulrich Stevenson, resident of St. Elizabeth. Radio personality and one of the country's most celebrated DJs, Barry G, whose given name is Barrington Gordon, has died. It's understood he passed away at Savannah Lamar Hospital in Westmoreland on Wednesday. He was 70 years old. Pneumonia has been given as the cause of death. A graduate of Kingston College, Barry G joined the Jamaica Broadcasting Corporation in the 1970s. He hosted shows such as the Boogie Down Show on Saturday nights. Later, he hosted the Super Mix, which made him the #1 disc jockey in Jamaica for most of the 1980s. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Sports is next.
Mysterious, magical, mesmerizing. Wouldn't you like to experience the natural beauty of the Northern Lights? You could be the lucky one if you use your cards right. Spend with your Sagicor Bank credit card from September 29 to November 13, 2025, and you could win an all-inclusive cruise vacation for 2 along the Norwegian coast to see the Northern Lights. Chase the Northern Lights with your Sagicor Bank credit card. The more you spend it, the closer you are to your dream adventure. Enjoy the best rewards ever. Conditions apply. Authorized by the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission.
Doritos and KFC, cheesy, delicious, crunchy. New collaboration, run the country. Doritos Zinger, hot and spicy. Doritos nacho cheese chips, cheddar cheese sauce. We not leave it. KFC with the extra crunch. The new Doritos Zinger, I want for lunch. The new KFC Doritos Zinger, the delicious combination of KFC's hot and spicy zinger and the irresistible flavor of Doritos. Available for a limited time. KFC and Doritos, a crunch that's finger-licking good.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. The West Indies will go in search of a 3-0 sweep over Bangladesh when they meet in the final game of a T20 International Series in Chattanooga on Friday morning Jamaica time, starting at 7 o'clock. The Windies pulled off narrow victories by 14 and 16 runs respectively in the first 2 games, and the win on Friday will see them avenging the 3-0 defeat suffered at the hands of the Tiger in St. Vincent and the Grenadines last year. The West Indies is expected to go in with the same 11 from the second game. India pulled off the greatest chase in women's one-day international cricket to storm into the ICC World Cup final. The hosts successfully chased down a record run victory target of 339, and that was played in Mumbai today. They beat the defending champions Australia by 5 wickets in their semi-final showdown on Thursday. Jemima Rodriguez came up big for India. She slammed an impressive 127 to see them to 341 for 5 in 48 overs and 3 balls. Captain Harmanpreet Kaur made 89 against Kim Garth and Annabelle Sutherland, both picking up 2 wickets apiece. Earlier, Faber Litchfield cracked 119 to help the Aussies to 338 all out with a ball left in their allotment. Elise Perry, the outstanding veteran, waiting with 77, and Ashley Gardner made 63. India will now take on South Africa in the big final on Sunday. A 17-year-old boy in Melbourne has died after being struck on the neck by a ball at training on Tuesday. Ben Austin was taken to hospital in critical condition after the incident at Fern 3 Gully in Melbourne, where he had been facing balls in the nets thrown ahead of a T20 game. He was wearing a helmet but did not include a stem guard. He was placed on life support at Monsa Children's Hospital but died on Thursday morning. Lord Sebastian Coe, head of World Athletics, says the organization is determined to recover monies lost due to corporate theft. The recent discovery of the theft, amounting to 1.5 million euros, has already led to the sacking of several members of staff at the organization. Lord Coe, in a statement, says too many organizations brush aside incidents like this under the carpet. terminating employees with limited information, which he says allows perpetrators to continue to work in the new organization. He says World Athletics is not that type of organization. World Athletics added that detailed cases were already handed over to judicial and legal authorities for criminal investigation. Premier League high flyers Arsenal were drawn to meet fellow Premier League campaigners Crystal Palace in the pick of the bunch, the pick of the quarter-final ties in the Carabao Cup in England. This will be the second meeting between the two Londoners. They met on Sunday gone. Arsenal winning that one by 1-0 in the Premier League at the Emirates. Eberechi Eze, a former Crystal Palace man, got the winner on that occasion. The champions Newcastle United, they've been drawn to take on Fulham. Chelsea, they've gotten a favourable draw. They'll play Cardiff City, and Manchester City will host Brentford. And the ties will be played in the week commencing December 15. Legendary jockey Frankie Dettori has announced that he'll retire from racing in the USA after the Breeders' Cup in Del Mar, California on Saturday. The 54-year-old Dettori took to his social media platform X to make his plans for announcement for retirement. Now, from the bottom of my heart, he says, thank you to everyone who has supported me throughout this incredible journey. It has been an honor to compete at the highest level of the sport for over 4 decades. He says the Tory has ridden 15 winners in the Breeders' Cup alone, with his latest coming in 2023 aboard Inspiral. Widely regarded as one of the greatest jockeys of his generation, the Tory, who was awarded a member of the British Empire in 2021 and MBE, rode his first winner in Italy back in 1986 and his first in Britain. A year later, the three-time British champion also has won 23 British Classics, and in 1996 won all 7 races at Royal Ascot. Dallas Mavericks guard Brandon Williams has issued an apology to his team following his arrest at the Dallas Fort Worth Airport for being in possession of marijuana. Williams was in possession of less than 2 ounces of the weed, which makes it illegal for recreational use in the state of Texas. In the NBA, marijuana isn't a banned substance, and the league stopped testing for the drug back in 2023. Williams, while speaking with the reporter, said, quote, I just want to apologize for being a distraction. I want to take full accountability, end of quote. The Dallas Mavericks, well, they have started the season with 2 wins and 3 losses from their 15 games played. The Los Angeles Lakers got back to winning ways as they clipped the Minnesota Timberwolves 116-115. On Wednesday night, the Lakers were led by Austin Reeves, who ended with 28 points, including the game-winning shot to silence a home crowd in the Target Center.
Minnesota into the hands of Reeves. 5 seconds. 3 seconds. Reeves splits the defense. The floater in the paint. It's good! At the buzzer! Austin Reeves does it again! Wow!
Austin Reeves says it felt good to have delivered that type of performance for the team, especially without LeBron and Luka.
It's different responsibilities, obviously, because, you know, they do so much for our team, but when we don't have them, the responsibility changes. But it's not, I wouldn't say it's physically, it's a little more, but, you know, I'm always mentally trying to figure out how I can help with them too and without them too. So it's definitely different in the sense of, you know, how I have to play and how I have to, you know, conduct myself. I can't get frustrated because, you know, at that time, you know, everybody's looking at me. And in those situations, you know, you have to, you know, be calm, be confident, and, you know, lead your guys.
That's AR Austin Reeves. And before we go, just to tell you that some news on the Premier League, the local Premier League in Jamaica. The PFJL says they are not sure when they'll restart the local Premier League, and owing to the fact that 2 clubs in particular have been badly hit. There are others who have been hit, but 2 in particular have been badly hit. And we're talking about Montego Bay United, or you'd have probably seen pictures of their home ground at the Montego Bay Sports Complex in Catherine Hall, St. James, and of course Treasure Beach United. They were massively hit. And because of those in particular, the PFGL are not sure when they're going to be starting the league. And there are other clubs who got minor hits, and they're looking at those as well. So at the minute, they're not sure when they're going to be resuming play in the Jamaica Premier League, and the same can be said for schoolboy football. Manning under Costa Cup. Issa isn't 100% sure when they'll be coming back to conclude the season, which is at its round of 16 stage in both competitions, and we'll definitely be keeping you abreast of the situation as far as those two competitions are concerned. That's sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612 to 5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:18.
Every school is free of unhealthy, ultra-processed products. You know, those high in salt, fats, and sugar. If only that weren't a dream. The reality is that many children have an unhealthy diet at school, and 23% of them are overweight or obese. This can lead to hypertension, heart disease, and type 2 diabetes. Let's protect our children's right to health with a policy for schools that prevents unhealthy food marketing and ensures access to nutritious foods. The time is now. Let's implement the National School Nutrition Policy. A message from the Heart Foundation of Jamaica and partners.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Robianne Williams. A special one to our friends over there on our YouTube platform. Thank you so much for tuning in. We invite you to weigh in live in the comments section on today's Public Opinion. What a few days. What a few days it has been. So many, such heartbreak. Yeah? Such devastation. And at times, I mean, it's just really, really traumatic. Seeing the videos, the pictures coming out of St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, St. James, St. Anne, the parishes that were severely affected, impacted by Hurricane Melissa. Monstrous Melissa, we call her. So we want to gauge your reaction this evening to the images emerging from the parts of the island worst affected by Melissa. That's our Public Opinion. What's your view? What's your take on the total devastation that we're seeing happening in the western belt of the island? On our Facebook platform, Clifton Ricardo Russell is saying, Mother Nature goes through a cycle of cleansing herself. We just have to prepare ourselves better for her wrath. Well, Clifton, I don't know, man. I know the people of St. Elizabeth wouldn't want to hear this, but yes, Ivy is saying protection from mosquitoes, mosquito nets. Zappy mosquito dumping of standing water wherever possible, or that should be stagnant. Yes, I guess she is giving some tips as it relates to cleaning and keeping clean the mosquitoes and all of that. All right, so Philip Jackson is saying devastation. Devastated is an understatement. They will all come back from this setback, but please don't just go back to a reset of the past
How we build and where we build must be the biggest lesson. My heart goes out to all who suffer loss of properties, but most of all, for the loss of lives of loved ones. Many prayers are with you. And at last, we confirmed that there are 14 deaths as a result of the passage of Hurricane Melissa. Carbeth Wine is saying it's going to be a long, depressing road to recovery. My heart goes out to everyone across Jamaica and my hometown of Black River. Let's put aside differences and division and help each other. Audley Phillip is saying clearly parts of the island are devastated, but people must be mindful and careful of the many fake images that are circulating. And my, oh my, we have seen so many fake images appearing all over social media, circulating. And, you know, we just have to flag them whenever it is that we see them because a lie. Valerie Lorna Higgins saying it's too much now. Tired of the sight. It's a sight for sore eyes. Can you imagine a 5-bedroom house built with plywood? Might be what they can afford, but come on, man, build 1 or 2 rooms with that and the rest with concrete. Well, Valerie, as you say, is what they can afford. Many of us can speak because we're in a better position, but for those who cannot afford it, is what they really and truly can afford. Wayne Humming is saying, how can they reach when the roads are impassable and floodwaters are on the ground in most places? Robert Ranger is saying, it a traumatized me, my pressure rising, but giving thanks, I'm still here. And I want to tell you that I can relate, you know, because I'm at the point where I just don't really go on social media. In the news group, I try not to look at the images, the videos coming in because, oh boy. Kiki says I'm devastated. Only God knows. Kira J saying, I want to know why PM and MPs haven't been to Westmoreland. They have. I have seen, I think, in St. James, if I'm not mistaken, and St. Elizabeth, but it will take time to go to everywhere. She's saying Little London especially to check the people and the devastation. Government claimed they would attempt today with no attempt happening. We want to know what's really going on in Western Westmoreland. Christopher Isaac saying the magnitude of the cleanup process is unimaginable at best. And he's questioning how will the rubble be disposed of. All right, let me see. They are charging at the toll booth. This is unacceptable. Ivy, I before I came on here, I saw a tweet on X saying that the toll booth, they are open. They're all open. And, you know, I've heard that persons are actually charging, but it's not a charge. Transport Minister Darrell Vaz says they are open. Jacqueline is saying devastating. Natalie Winter saying to us, may the affected communities find strength and resilience in this challenging time. What's your reaction to the images emerging from the parts of the island worst affected by Melissa? On Instagram, Tina is saying you have to be mentally strong. If we all don't, we can deeply stress out. I'm just keeping hope alive and my trust in God. And before I came on here, I watched a video of a man brought to tears saying that he lost everything. And it's just heartbreaking and devastating altogether. Pazam is saying we want back with light. Well, Pazam, Jamaica Public Service Company, JPS, is begging us to be patient. Chris Duncan says, just tears to see how the hurricane mash up Jamaica. You and I both. Willie Ryan Wilson saying it's depressing. I've literally been avoiding posts just because of how sad I get seeing the devastation. Heartbreaking, says Sleuther. Not even words can express the feeling. That's according to Mr. Atland. Who you, brother? Heartrending. And if the images are that bad, I wouldn't want to imagine what it's like on the ground. And, you know, part of me, you know, I feel as though I don't want to go to St. Elizabeth, to Westmoreland, to St. James, because I don't want to see for my own self. I mean, the videos and everything coming in. Let me go on our YouTube platform where Who Am I is saying images are real. We can't ignore looking at those images, else we shall not have the guts to go into the communities to help. And I want to commend many people that I've seen on social media just packing up their vehicles, just trying to find a way to go down to either St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, St. James, St. Anne, just to assist. I saw the tarpaulins, the light, the flashlights, everything, the batteries in a friend of mine's car. And I was like, yes, 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 yes. Maybug saying, my heart goes out to all who suffered losses, total devastation. As someone who went through a Cat 4 hurricane, I fully understand. And she's saying, help if you can. Cindy Lynch saying, Ricardo had me crying today when he spoke about the man wanting to share his breadfruit with him and Tana. Wow, yes, that really had me. It was heartrending. Yeah. If I was there, I would be going down there to help, says Sheldon Ellis. According to Marva, the PM is only one person and not an octopus. He only has two hands, can't be everywhere at one time. Jamaica say, I would love to see more of the locals helping to clean up the roads. And it's like when I see videos coming in and I see men, women just trying to help, to assist, to clear the road. It's just amazing to see how people are coming together to help. Roy Richards is saying, shout out to Mendes Town, Trelawney. Need to hear from my family. Yeah? Need to hear from my family. Herman is saying, I'm heartbroken. Herman. Oh, let me tell you. D. Wector is saying, watching and hearing some of the situation tell me that officials are underselling the humanitarian disaster. We need for ball out and beg like crazy for helicopters to do emergency extractions. Yeah. I am winning right now. I can't help but feel overwhelmed. It's difficult to watch the devastation and the pain. And you can imagine the people who are go through it. Like I said, I saw a man earlier today brought to tears. A big old man say, a construction work him do. All I'm years of living, construction work him do. And him lose everything. Yeah? He lost everything. Let me see if I can get in a few more. Rosette is saying, Trelawney, is this Lorimer's Trelawney, is devastated. My mom, children, and family all there. No light, nothing. And the road's gone. Oh, boy. Michael is saying, when I look in Montego Bay, Dr. Harris, Dr. Chun, here I need a lift up man and don't look good for a minister. Michael, right, I'm trying to understand what you're saying. Let me see if I can get in a few more. Your reaction to videos, images coming out of the most affected parishes. Sophia is saying, St. Elizabeth, my parish is devastated. Every time I see the pictures, I cry. Yeah. Albert is saying, imagine reminds me of Gaza and Ukraine. The difference is this is by Mother Nature. The saddest part is that help can't come as fast as needed. Patience is needed at this time. Sad. Marcia is saying we need urgent help outside to rescue our Westmoreland people. Otherwise, many will perish in this disaster. I'm so worried my cousin don't hear anything from Westmoreland. She don't know what happened if they are alive, says Becca. Oh boy, let's be practical, Earl says. That it will take time to organize and get things in place. And some of the roads remain blocked. Yeah? Some of the roads still blocked at this point in time. And we just have to be patient. It's gut-wrenching. Yeah? Miracle Baby Nay says it's gut-wrenching. For those of you who are in the most affected parishes, help is on the way. It may not seem as though we want to help and they're coming to help, but you know, the roads, some of the roads are still blocked. They're working on clearing those roads. So be patient, and our hearts or prayers go out to you. Thank you so much for your participation in Public Opinion this evening. The Business Report is up next.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:33. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robian Williams. The latest iPhones have seen a tremendous response across the globe, says Apple boss Tim Cook as the tech giant released its latest financial results. The firm unveiled its thinnest iPhone, the Air, in September, along with upgraded iPhone 17 models, proving a bumper crop for the firm. It said it expects the upcoming Christmas and New Year's period to be a blockbuster, forecasting overall revenue to be up to 12% higher than the same period last year. U.S. President Donald Trump and his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping have met for the first time in 6 years, raising hopes for a de-escalation of tensions between the world's two biggest economies. Trump described the talks held in South Korea as amazing, while Beijing said they had reached a consensus to resolve major trade issues. Relations have been tense since Trump began imposing new tariffs on China, prompting retaliation from Beijing. The two agreed to a truce in May, but tensions remained high. Thursday's talks did not lead to a formal agreement, but the announcements suggest they are closer to a deal, the details of which have long been subject to behind-the-scenes negotiations. That's the Business Report. I'm Robian Williams. Good evening.
This is a public service announcement from JPS. The JPS Customer Care Center, which is technically supported in Western Jamaica, is unavailable due to infrastructural damage. This means customers will not be able to get through on the toll-free line. Customers can, however, make contact with the company via web chat on its website at jpsco.com, on its social media pages at MyJPS Online, and through the MyJPS mobile app. JPS thanks you for your patience and understanding at this time. That was a public service announcement from JPS.
Roll tape. Welcome to Deposit Insurance in a Minute. JDIC provides deposit insurance to each depositor based on their ownership category, up to 1.2 million at each bank and building society.
So what that mean now? What it means is deposits in each bank are insured separately, up to $1.2 million, and deposits in different ownership categories,
such as individual accounts, business accounts, joint accounts, and trust and nominee accounts, are also insured separately in each bank.
So wait, if me open my account in a two different banks, the two of them cover 1.2 million each? That is it. Even if you plan for open two different categories of accounts,
like one individual and one business account in the same bank,
JDIC insures them separately under the deposit insurance scheme.
That's how deposit insurance works.
JDIC, protecting deposits for you and me.
Multi-link, access every time, everywhere I go. Multi-link, 24/7 access for me. It's just a win-win when we use multi-link. This card is Jamaican built, yeah. Fast and secure, you can use anywhere. Spend while supporting the economy.
Look for the multi-link logo on your card and benefit from Jamaica's largest debit payment network.
Multi-link, 24/7 access for me.
What would I do without my multi-link?
My Mega
With so much to do in one location, make Megamart your one-stop shop. Pick up your groceries and houseware needs, grab a bite and pay some bills, fill your prescriptions and see the beauty products in our pharmacy. All in one amazing location. My Megamart, the best value by far.
This is a public service announcement from JPS. The JPS Customer Care Center, which is technically supported in Western Jamaica, is unavailable due to infrastructural damage. This means customers will not be able to get through on the toll-free line. Customers can, however, make contact with the company via web chat on its website at jpsco.com, on its social media pages at MyJPS Online, and through the MyJPS mobile app. JPS thanks you for your patience and understanding at this time. That was a public service announcement from JPS.
I'm Dennis Brooks.
I'm Marlon Campbell.
I'm Floyd Green.
And I'm Garth Williams. Catch us on the Jamaican Dads podcast right here on Nationwide 90 FM, Thursdays at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m.
The Jamaican Dads podcast is all about providing men with a healthy, safe, and functional forum to tackle many of the taboo topics that concern our masculinity.
Like everyone else out there, we're dads of varying amounts of experience who come from different backgrounds and often view the world differently.
We're definitely not perfect, but we are all brethren and we're all committed to this piece of rock called Jamaica.
Too often, there are no safe spaces for men to explore the issues which are important to us.
Plus, most of the content out there about parenthood is produced by women, for women. So we think it is important that we be the change we want to see.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jamaican Dads with a Z.
And definitely join us here on Nationwide 90 FM every Thursday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m. for the Jamaican Dads podcast. It's a revolution in media.
What's everyone talking about? It's Front Page in This Morning. Get the issue of the day this and every weekday morning at 7:20 a.m. on Front Page. This Morning. Morning radio the right way. Front Page is brought to you by ABC Electrical for a better choice in the electrical business.
Everything loud and wicked every Saturday 3 to 5 p.m. with Outside with Pepita. Lone vibes, lone laughs, and lone entertainment. Come on the road with we. Cause when we say Outside with Pepita, we're there all over Jamaica. Anyway, check them out. We're there. We're in on the business. Stay tuned in for prizes, surprises, giveaways, guest artists, and enough more. But hold on there. Don't forget to big up my DJ. DJ Jerome, the shell boss, I'm gonna make your bust to pew pew with the maddest, baddest, and latest tune. So look out for Outside with Pepita. We might be coming to a town near you. You heard it here first. Outside with Pepita, Saturdays 3 to 5 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM. The new revolution in media. Jamaica, lock it in and don't miss a thing.
Good evening, listeners and viewers. Welcome back. It is time for the nation's business. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
My name is Sanjay Lewis.
Before we get into the nation's business, though, listeners, unfortunately, a bit of an update. The death toll from Melissa has increased again. We reported that it was 14 at 5:35 at the top of our newscast. We now have official confirmation from the government. It is now up to 19 fatalities from the passage of the Category 5 hurricane. And again, our condolences to the families, the friends, loved ones who've lost relatives in this tragic incident. So that update there, 19 individuals now have lost their lives due to Hurricane Melissa. Also, I would like to say good news. The U.S. government's disaster assistance response team, that's DART, that we mentioned earlier in the newscast, it has landed in Jamaica, and it is setting up now to get ready to assist or local relief efforts in terms of rescue and other areas which may need aid. The team comprises approximately 30 personnel with rescue dogs and supplies, and it is the first of what is to be expected of 2 teams to come here from the United States. And we thank the U.S. government and the U.S. Embassy here in Kingston for providing that assistance. And as we said, Jamaica welcomes the assistance from all our foreign partners and our local partners as we try to get past and recover from this hurricane. Well, with that out of the way, listeners, we turn to other matters still related to Melissa, and that is matters of education. With Hurricane Melissa making landfall as a Category 5 hurricane, which has caused widespread damage across several parishes, it's caused significant displacement for many Jamaicans, particularly the nation's children. School was suspended last week in preparation for the hurricane, with many of those facilities converted to shelters to house evacuees. At least 2 of the nation's tertiary institutions are working to resume classes as early as next Monday. However, there's been no official word yet as to when there will be a resumption of classes at the country's public institutions. To discuss this matter and other matters, we are now joined by the spokesman on matters related to Hurricane Melissa, that is Senator Marlon Morgan. Good evening, Senator.
Good evening, Senator.
Hi, good evening, Siobhan. Good evening, Sanjay. And let me say good evening to your nationwide listeners and viewers.
It is good to hear from you, Senator.
What's the latest update, Senator, from the ministry regarding the reopening of schools following the devastation caused by Hurricane Melissa?
All right, before I get into that, just permit me a moment to, on behalf of the government, express condolences to the families and friends of those persons who, it would appear at this time, would have lost their life consequent on the passage of Hurricane Melissa. And we must also express condolences to the family and friends and indeed colleagues across media of the late Barry Gordon, a fellow KC man, like myself. Really have to salute Barry G for his impact in terms of the media landscape and things related. So condolences to his family and friends. In terms of Hurricane Melissa, as we've seen in all other aspects of national life here in Jamaica, the impact on the education sector, Sanjay and Siobhan, has been cataclysmic. It has been particularly horrible. We must appreciate at the very outset that the impact, though adverse in all instances, has not been homogeneous, in that we have regional directors, even as we speak, who have not yet heard from some of the principals in those geographic areas that feed into their reporting. And I'm speaking primarily of Western Jamaica, where we have our Region 4 situated, that comprises the Parish St. James, Hanover, and Westmoreland. And you can also think of Region 5, which comprises St. Elizabeth and Manchester, in addition to Region 3, where St. Anne and Trelawney comprise our Region 3. So coming to the specific question as to the reopening of school, it's a fairly fluid situation. The ministry has a number of contemplations at this point in time, which we will communicate to the system in the coming hours. But we have under active consideration, gentlemen, the resumption of school in the face-to-face modality, to the extent that local situation and the local reality on the ground permits, in the regions that have been, shall we say, less terribly impacted by the passage of Hurricane Melissa. Those being Region 1, which is essentially Kingston and St. Andrew. Region 2, which comprises St. Thomas, Portland, and St. Mary. and Region 6, which is essentially the parish of St. Catherine, with Region 7, of course, being Clarendon. But some determination will emerge in terms of Clarendon. But we must also note that even in Region 2, the impact has not been homogeneous, in that St. Thomas, and if you even recall the update provided by Minister Vaz at the special press briefing today, there are a number of JPS customers who have service or have the electricity supply, but in St. Mary the picture is almost the diametric opposite, in that a number of JPS customers in St. Mary are still without power. And so even though they're in the same geographic region, the ministry has to take into active consideration that asymmetric situation, in that schools may be able to go ahead for Monday in places like in certain parts of St. Thomas, or St. Thomas generally as a parish, but the situation may be a bit different in St. Mary. So in the coming hours, we'll be finalizing. I have been tasked by the Portfolio Minister, Senator the Honorable Dana Morris Dixon, with spearheading this aspect of the ministry's response. The ministry, gentlemen, has developed in recent times an education in emergency framework, which essentially seeks to, have brought to bear some resilience in relation to education, as we seek to minimize displacement, we seek to minimize learning loss, as we did during the COVID-19 pandemic.
And for those schools that, just a follow-up, Chevron, for those schools that cannot reopen immediately, Senator, is it that you're looking at remote learning or staggered schedules for those students?
Well, that is precisely the plan. No, the idea is that if I can share an anecdote, I am just returning home in St. Catherine from St. Anne. And there is a particular devastation over in St. Anne. And I have not eyeballed Westmoreland myself, but based on the aerial tour of St. Elizabeth, the Black River space, and what we're hearing coming out of Westmoreland in terms of sites and videos on social media, you will appreciate, gentlemen, that a considerable number of our Jamaican brothers and sisters are simply engaged right now in just picking up the pieces. And what that means is that even mentally, there's that considerable overhang from the passage of Hurricane Melissa. And so in some of these spaces, they are, seeking to get basic shelter, getting their communities accessible again in terms of impassable roadways, and just getting critical supplies into those spaces. So the education recovery, even in terms of remote learning, we're talking about the use of learning kits and so on. Those communities, the resumption and coming back on stream may be some days yet, but we are seeking to assess the damage, the government as a whole, and for us in the education sector, that is the mode we're in at this point, gentlemen. You will recall and appreciate that we had the preparation ahead of the event. We braced for impact. Unfortunately, we were adversely impacted by the passage of Hurricane Melissa, and we're now in the damage assessment mode, and that's what is happening in all our 7 regions. But we can just imagine that out in Western Jamaica and in the south central part of the island, certainly many areas in St. Elizabeth, they are just literally coming to grips with what has happened and are picking the pieces at this time. And the strategy is that those spaces will ultimately be coming on, perhaps initially in the remote modality, before we can get to a point where full face-to-face can resume in those spaces. But there are a number of things, as I've said before, that are under active consideration right now. Prior to making certain public announcements, the proposal and the plan of action of the ministry will be presented to our Portfolio Minister, who will advance it to Cabinet in the hours ahead. And therefore, we will be in a position to come to the country as to what the resumption of education will be looking like in terms of some of the hardest hit spaces in the country.
Marlon, I can understand the circumstances on the ground. I do commiserate and understand that, but we need to keep the children engaged, at least considering the importance of education and minimizing, as you said, that education loss. But even then, in the COVID-19 pandemic, we could rely on connectivity. We don't have, unfortunately, that option during this period of disaster. What is the alternatives to that in terms of, you mentioned education kits. So how do you now utilize alternative means to get those children engaged in some form of learning just to keep them active?
Yeah. So first of all, as a ministry,
Senator Morgan?
Yeah.
Oh dear, we might have lost the senator there. We'll try to reconnect with him. But as he said, I can completely understand a lot of Jamaicans are still in that stage where what has happened is probably they're still coming to grips with it, let alone considering the next steps as in how they move forward with their lives. So we will try to put that into consideration, where some Jamaicans will be able to resume things as normal come next week, but there will be others which for days, if not weeks from now, will still be in that situation where they are not able to continue on as if normalcy has returned. I understand we have Minister Morgan here. Minister Morgan?
Well, Senator Morgan.
Sorry,
which is
Senator
why I made mention of what I made mention of at the very outset, Siobhan, in that Hurricane Melissa has impacted Jamaica terribly, but the degree of displacement, the degree of impact is not homogeneous. It's not the same across the board. And as such, unfortunately, in the areas where there's most displacement and most severe impact in terms of adverse impact, you will find that those students and education stakeholders there will come back on stream, certainly in the face-to-face modality in the weeks ahead. Now, what that does not mean that over the intervening period there is to be no educational engagement, which is why, as I said earlier, we have our education in emergency framework, and so soon as some of those spaces get back to some semblance of normality, to the extent that we can consider a new norm as normality. But so soon as this immediate wake of Melissa passes over and we can get back to the business of education and engagement in terms of other modalities like the use of learning kits, the use of Google Classroom, perhaps using such technology as Starlink, since our telecoms as we know it will take some time yet to come back fully on stream. But I've basically sought to situate in this conversation, gentlemen, just the sheer and stark reality on the ground right now in spaces like St. Elizabeth, Hanover, Westmoreland, Trelawney, and parts of St. James. Those places, shelter has been wiped out in many instances. There are essentially communities that are cut off. Many communities are inaccessible right now. And so for some people, even to come to grips with the thought of resuming education, they are simply not there yet. But as a system, we have to be preparing the system and we have to be proactive, and that is precisely what we're doing. And as I said earlier, we're in damage assessment mode. The system is feeding into our database reports from the respective schools. Some schools have suffered tremendous damage, have almost been wiped out. Certainly in the case of the slight least primary and infant school, that school will take perhaps a complete rebuild. So it gives you a sense as to just the reality on the ground right now.
And in that planning, Senator, do you have contingency plans to ensure that students preparing for external exams such as CSEC and CAPE are not left behind because of these disruptions?
Absolutely. As you'll appreciate, our exit exam cohort are always, prioritized. We place a premium on all our learners, But when you consider the primary level, grades 4, 5, and 6, which are those, respective grades that have some form of external assessment, PEP at 4, PEP at grade 5, and of course the final leg of PEP, which is at grade 6. And then at the upper school level, you have the grades 12 and 13, which are the Cape sitting cohorts, and then you have the classical CSEC and City and Guilds cohort at grade 11. So many school leaders, as they did post-Beryl, will, really appreciate that we seek to prioritize those particular cohorts of students in terms of finding appropriate classroom spaces, to the extent that some parts of the school plant have suffered tremendous damage. We seek to prioritize those, whilst you have some of the other students utilizing other modalities, for example, like the remote learning modality. So the idea is that leadership and creativity is what will manifest in the days and weeks ahead. We are well placed as a ministry, so to provide and so to lead, and that is why we have, developed the education in emergency framework, because we had to rely on these kind of creative and agile and responsive approaches during the COVID-19 pandemic, as you will recall, and we had to revert to it again just last year when we had the passage of Hurricane Beryl, although that system didn't make landfall. And now we're in new times, unprecedented times, given the degree of adverse impact that Hurricane Melissa has left in her wake.
And one of the things, Senator, that we cannot turn a blind eye to is just the psychosocial support that some of these kids will need, and also the teachers. Are there counseling or psychosocial support services being mobilized for students affected by the trauma during or after the hurricane, and similarly the teachers?
Happy you've raised that, Sanjay, because that is a key element of what I've been seeking to convey in this conversation. We have parents at this time, teachers even, who would have lost their roof. They would have lost, even the clothes that they would have had, set aside to go to school and to go to show up at work and so on. So you can just get a sheer sense as to where many of our stakeholders in education would be mentally at this time. But thankfully, the government has in place not just capacity in relation to the guidance counselors who are employed to schools. What the government has sought to do, the ministry in particular in this case, is to make the services of engaged psychologists available. So we have, psychiatric support and psychological support, professional counselors who have been retained by the ministry and are available to interface with our stakeholders in education insofar as they seek to avail themselves of the services of these service providers. So I can convey to the system and our stakeholders generally at this time that the ministry does have this capacity. If you need help or you need someone to just talk to and ventilate and, just help to process all that has unfolded, certainly in the past 72 hours or so, there is support. You do not have to undergo this alone. We are a nation of resilient people. We are a people who know how to bounce back. Yes. And so we are going to be on a very long road to recovery, but rest assured that we are seeking to be resilient in all aspects of our national life, whether it is in energy, agriculture, in this case in education. And you are not alone in this, entire process and event, and that is why we have those psychological support available to stakeholders, certainly students, our teachers. Feel free to avail yourself of those, counseling and support services.
That is Senator Marlon Morgan. He is
just before that, Siobhan, I have to ask you this, Senator, and it's a discussion that we have to have post this hurricane, looking at making our schools more climate resilient going forward. And I look, for example, at my own alma mater, Mannings, where some of the very buildings that they would have reconstructed after the last hurricane, it's now destroyed again. Is that going to be part of the conversation going forward? How is it that we're going to make these buildings more climate resilient so that we can deal with hurricanes of this nature?
You're absolutely correct, because it would be remiss of us, having regard to our experience in recent times, and as the Prime Minister has said time and again, We are in a moment at present where we are going to have these exogenous shocks, certainly these weather systems that are going to be more frequent. They're going to be ferocious in terms of impact. They're going to be intense, and they're going to be overlapping exogenous shocks. At some point, we had a health pandemic, and then subsequent to that, we had a hurricane. And so it gives you a sense as to displacement perhaps knocking on our doors ever so often. And it behooves us, therefore, to ensure that how we position and build our school plans, they're able to be more resilient. So the roofing, certainly at a minimum, we have to consider and ensure that hurricane straps are fitted. But we know that the ideal roofing solution would be concrete. So these are some of the discussions that will feature in the days and weeks ahead, because as we know, zinc roofing is a cheaper roofing solution, but the truth of the matter is that it is not as hurricane resilient
suitable in this environment
as concrete, and as such, we may have to really consider making the capital investments, though it's more costly, but it will, work itself out in the long run to the extent that it can better withstand the ravages of a hurricane, for example.
Yeah, and I'm giving you that final message now tonight to parents, teachers, students across Jamaica who are anxious about when normal school life will return and just anxious as to what will happen as it relates to education. I'm giving you that opportunity to speak to them now.
I just want to reassure the public, parents, or students, or teachers as well, that we're all in this together. You do not have an insensitive government. We know that people are simply, in many instances, just seeking to come to terms with what has happened, seeking to process what has happened. Many households are literally picking up the pieces, but at the same time, we have to appreciate that we have to get on with teaching and learning as best we can, not in an insensitive way, but to ensure that we can get back to some semblance of learning, because we do not want our students, many of them would have been displaced by Beryl, which was just last year. We do not want to have the compounded effect of learning loss, and which is precisely why your ministry, your government has an education in emergency framework, and we will be partnering with you and partnering with all stakeholders in education, including those who are donating to Jamaica and other governments and NGOs around the world. We appreciate the solidarity, and we're going to be partnering over the weeks and months ahead as we build back this great country of ours.
Senator Marlon Morgan, Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Education, thank you as always for your time.
All the best, Siobhan. All the best, Sanjay.
All the best.
But just before we take the break, listeners, I have a bit of something. Yes. So for those who are out there and you have concerns in terms of security, or you need assistance in rescue operations, the JDF has provided a few numbers to which you can call. It is 876-960-8776 or 876-788-4362, or you can call the National Emergency Operations Center at 906-7668. So for those in need of assistance, or you have concerns in terms of security or other issues, you can call these numbers. That's 960-8776, 788-4362, or the National Emergency Operations Center at 906-7668. We now take the break, listeners, and then we come back with more.
The Pink Run, a corporate wellness challenge, encourages physical activity, healthy eating, and age-appropriate health checks. Remember, early detection saves lives. The time by the Ministry of Health and Wellness is...
It's 6 minutes past 7.
It's the weekend and the youth are taking over the airwaves. Yes, we are the new voices and faces of the Talk Up You radio show. The voice of the Jamaican youth right here on Nationwide 90 FM.
After a busy week of work and school, come and wine with Jamaica's #1 youth radio show.
We're bringing you entertainment, fun facts, and staying true to youth development and advocacy.
Catch the action each and every Saturday as we roll out buzzy segments. What say you?
Youth for chat,
life skills,
global connect,
and bust the youth.
That's the Talk Up Youth radio show Show, Saturdays 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM. Talk up youth, Miss Effie.
Talk up youth, don't miss it.
Not a mercy. This one is very classic, dedicated to all schoolers who are taking beats.
If you've ever struggled to pass an exam, then you'll know that students today are under great pressure to get good grades and secure qualification needed to move on to higher education. The problem is that too many students are struggling alone and could really benefit from connecting with hardworking teachers and other bright students in other parts of the country and the region. Join me, Dennis Brooks, this and every Friday evening from 8 to 9, with a repeat on Saturday morning from 8 to 9. For the A-Team, a study group on radio, my team of teachers, students, and experts will break down the syllabus, giving you information, tips, and past paper questions that will help you get top grades in your upcoming exams. Follow us on Facebook Live and on Twitter and be a part of the community. It's the A-Team, Fridays at 8 p.m. with a repeat at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. It's your free extra class on radio and social media. And it's right here on Nationwide 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Public opinion.
Stop this foolish about this GLP and PMP business. We are a Jamaican.
Different people.
It's not a matter of a GLP or a PMP. I think it's more like where it is that you think you're comfortable, what support you can afford to make the country better.
Different views.
Most entertainers, they're not amenable to management, so the only thing that can ultimately structure them is the court and the prison.
Public opinion. The voice of the people at 6:25 p.m. weekdays during Nationwide at 5. Tune into Nationwide at 6:25 p.m. for Public Opinion, where the people's views matter.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Welcome back, listeners. We will now be taking your calls from now till 8 o'clock, so please come chat with us. The numbers are 876-630-9371-4 and 876-616730.
As a parent, you give your children a good start in life. You nurture, protect, and guide them. Parenting is a process that prepares your child for independence. As your child grows and develops, there are many things you can do to help your child. Stay tuned to The Big Show, Nationwide this morning, for parenting tips. Fridays at 6:53 a.m. Only here will you learn everything you need to know about parenting. Tips to help parents navigate the incredibly challenging and rewarding journey of child rearing. Parenting tips on Nationwide at 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
Welcome back, listeners. I said taking your calls. The numbers 876-630-9371-4 and 876-618-6730. We have our first caller on the line, but just before we go to that, I see a few comments in the YouTube. So to clear some things, the Senator Morgan, he is the Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Youth, Skills and Information. and he has been appointed by the government as essentially the point man, the press secretary in this dire time, which means information as it relates to Hurricane Melissa is filtered through him, so that we can at any moment, he's there 24/7, get an update on a situation where we might not necessarily have contact with the minister on the ground or somebody who may have the information on the ground. As you can understand, information coming in can be spotty under the circumstances. So they have appointed Senator Morgan as the person who, through us, the media, we can get him at a moment's notice to give us an update. And this is what we functionally want. Someone who acts essentially as the U.S. press secretary would act. They have the information and they're able to get us that information as quickly, as cleanly, and as up-to-date as possible. So that is why we are speaking to Senator Morgan at this time.
All right. And Siobhan, before we go to our callers, yesterday I made mention of, just before I went off air, Balvin and Sonia Leslie. I gather Rondine is able to reach out to her parents. So thanks, someone was in fact listening and shared the information. So that's good news. I'm still yet to hear from my parents. Well, my mom, my dad has died. So my mom or my grandmother. So I'm still trying to reach out to them. And I saw some images today, Siobhan, of the area that I'm from in Petersfield. The church that I grew up at, Petersfield Wesleyan Holiness, is completely, well, the roof is gone. I'm seeing where the windows are damaged. The only thing that I'm seeing left is just the four walls, in a sense. So it's a hard hit down there in Westmoreland, and I encourage those down there, continue to send me the information as we pick up the pieces for those in Westmoreland.
Okay, I understand. Bobby, you're on the line. Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
How are things there, Bobby? You doing good?
Bobby?
Yes, well, everything is okay on my part, you know. I just want to express my sympathy to the family of those. Is 19 people you say gone now? 19,
unfortunately, yes.
Yes, I just, want to express my condolences to the family and so on, You see, now is a time that we have to band together, even if Bobby vexed with Siobhan and Sandre. Now is the time Bobby must realize that, look here, I have to reach out to Sandre and Siobhan and hold them on and lift up our hearts.
You're vexed with me, Bobby?
God. No. No, but I'm just trying to show people that, look here, now is the time for unity, right? We have to, be our brothers and sisters keeper at this time, because trust me, things could have been worse,
Yeah.
But thank God, and Sandra, I just pray and hope that you hear something from your family as quickly as possible, because I know how it feels now, Sandra, when you're not hearing from them and you hear that part of the country has been damaged severely.
Yeah. And the images that I'm seeing, Bobby, it's not a pretty scene at all. But I also understand that, there's no power, there's no telecommunication. So I've been very patient, but at the same time, you want to hear if the house is damaged or anything is out of place, So that's why I'm a little bit on edge, but I also understand the situation.
Yeah, man. You see, and I also want to, I want to say to the church, we have to pray for this Prime Minister. First, when he take over the country, it was the COVID pandemic. And, last year we had burial, and this year we have this thing, and trust me. And when I hear he speak, down in St. Elizabeth and those parishes that have been damaged, but you can hear the sadness in his voice, and trust me, I can tell you, boy, I just have to pray to Almighty God and just ask God to lift up the family of those people who are damaged and so on, so that everything will be okay. And just want to say thanks to those countries who have sent in hurricane reliefs at this time, and I want all those relief packages to go equally, fairly, and no form of corruption or sabotage must take place there. So, okay, then here.
All right, thank you for that, Bobby.
You know, Bobby
Okay,
is
then
onto
tell me.
something, Siobhan. This government has faced a series of unfortunate events, First, the
Yes.
COVID-19 pandemic that we have not seen in years, and now a Category 5 hurricane that we have never seen before. The island has never been hit by such a dangerous hurricane, yeah?
Well, the mettle of an administration is best proven during a disaster.
Yes.
I mean, there's all that you can expect from a government in terms of when times are just normal, but the true mettle, the true test of whether the government is up to the task is when the country itself is tested. So we will see what the
and you're
response
right.
is.
Yeah, and so far so good. The communication effort by the government pre the hurricane and how we have been getting information so far, I have to give them a good grade, and we have to continue to watch now as the recovery process begins.
I see time on YouTube threatening to call because why you never ask why school? No. I would expect to know that as soon as is feasibly possible, the Ministry of Education would resume classes because you don't want the children out for an undue length of time. And the senator was quite on point in terms of his response to those questions regarding the reopening of school. He made it clear that it's not going to be an expectation of a homogeneous reopening, and he made it quite clear that, that's not on the minds of many people right now. I think his response in terms of that line of questioning was quite spot on, quite measured, and quite reasonable and understanding. I think the message he's delivering makes sense. We can't expect that some people, under these circumstances, even have that thought on their mind that, how am I going to send my child to school next week? It's probably not even registering. But
and I see someone is asking if Jamaica is the only country that faced the COVID pandemic. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm speaking about the government's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, the handling thus far of the hurricane, and the fact is they have really gotten to the COVID-19 pandemic and now the hurricane, two things that, no one would have expected would have happened. So we're just talking about what the government is now facing and the handling of the situation thus far. Huh?
Yeah. So as I said, I appreciate the candor put forward by Senator Morgan, and he seems... the role that he's been placed in, he seems well suited for it, because when it comes to information, he's never put off kilter when you ask him very specific questions which you require answers to. And I should point out to the listeners that this was not what we planned to do at the time. He had less than 5 minutes, if even that much, to prepare for the questions that we were going to put to him. He had less than that just to prepare that, and he delivered it as well as could be feasibly expected under the circumstances, which means that even before we put this question to him, he had that information ready and he was prepared for that potential line of questioning. And that is what I expect to see from information minister or press secretary, or in this case, a spokesperson put in charge of general matters in relation to the recovery and relief efforts on Hurricane Melissa. So kudos to Senator Morgan for being essentially prepared, knowing what the brief is even before the brief was put to him. Carl, good evening.
Evening, Sanjay.
Hey, Carl.
Giving thanks, man. How you on the weather, man?
Why, good enough. Good.
Good. You know, how much people didn't say they find so far, Sanjay?
19, unfortunately.
19, unfortunate, boy. Anyhow, we have to pick up and move on again. So? Hello?
Carl, we're hearing you.
Go ahead.
You know, one good thing about things, Sanjay, is that the government with Nigel Clark did set up an insurance that we can have some Jordan. That we have to stretch out our hand first. We can start first. What do you say about that?
That's true.
I said it yesterday that it was probably one of the most forward-thinking moves by the administration at the time, and under the considerations, it was well thought out.
And me have to go back and ask you, you know how many steer it is? I wish government did have that idea.
I'm not really into the politics this evening, you know.
Anyway,
I will give you your answer, but let's not go to the politics this evening. All right? It was the current JLP administration that put forward the catastrophe bond, yes.
And Sanjay, suppose the country never in a condition where it's in and now, how things would have go?
Right, it would have been worse. Yeah?
It would have been worse. Anyhow, what me considering up here now with some of my people in Southeast Clarendon and over where me live, if we say if we can get some water to carry down now Southeast, I mean St. Elizabeth, one of them is Saturday are pretty close.
That would be appreciated. That's a good turn. That's a good turn, Carl. Do that.
Everybody needs to jump forward, you know, and. Good thing say we have a government in our office. I mean, I left you there, sir.
All right, Carl. Thank you for that. So I will say this. I'm not getting into the politics or wading into that. With the catastrophe bond in place, and as we had that discussion with Keenan Faulkner yesterday, and my more deeper understanding in terms of how that bond works, it is a lifesaver in terms of presenting the country with an opportunity to rapidly respond to the needs on the ground as they come up, because without that it would be a burden on the fiscal accounts of the country that we would probably be paying off well into the future in terms of debt and other concerns without that catastrophe bond. So I can only give kudos where kudos is deserved. It was celebrated at the time when we raised the bond, and now the bond has proven it. If there was ever a naysayer in any walk of life in terms of the effectiveness and the prudency of that catastrophe bond, they would be put to bed at this point. That bond was a well thought out, foresighted move that in this instant case has most likely save the country from what could have ended up being years of recovery at this point. As plus the other instruments in place, such as the CRIF, the Emergency Disaster Fund, the self-insurance fund put forward for the JPS itself. All of these measures has put the country in a better stead to respond to the fiscal needs of a natural disaster, and we are thankful for those measures as we face this hurricane now. We take a break, listeners, and then we come back with more of your calls. The numbers again, 630-937-124 and 618-6730. Come chat with us, hurricane-related matters or any matter that is on your mind. Or if you just want to reach out to a family member and you want to see if they are okay, please, you can use us as that channel.
Jamaica's poverty rate has dropped from 16.7% to 8.2%. As the government's economic program begins to pay off, our country is heading towards sustained growth. We are building Jamaica. The time by the office of the Prime Minister is...
It's 7:25.
MSME operators, the NWC MSME Amnesty is a lifeline. Grab it. Apply between September 1 and November 30, 2025. Visit nwcjamaica.com. Email us at customercare@nwc.com.jm. You can also visit any commercial office or dial 888-NWC. Get a 50% debt write-off on your small commercial account if you pay all other outstanding debts or sign a payment agreement to do so in 3 months. Apply today.
Home is closer than you think when you save towards your dream home with the Homeowners Savings Plan, or HOSP, from CIBC Caribbean. With HOSP, you unlock preferential interest rates to earn more interest on your savings and pay less with a discounted mortgage rate. You can even borrow up to an additional US $5,000 or its equivalent to help you with your closing costs. Get home faster when you save the HOSP way with CIBC.
As we await more callers, I turn to YouTube. I see Tam saying, Siobhan, seriously, had you ever had hit hard by a disaster beyond your control? Do you know the psychological effects of this, people? Time is a great healer. We can overcome, but time is required. And as I said, I understand that, and as the senator said, it's a matter of location. I mean, those in areas where they weren't hard hit, and those areas where there's been relatively no damage, it would be reasonable to say, okay, when can we bring those individuals back to school? Versus areas where it was hard hit, I understand that we can't necessarily expect them to be in the frame of mind where they can immediately go back to classes. That's not being disputed. But I think the question should still be had. When do we intend, and in terms of the process of bringing our schools back into education, bringing our schools back up to scratch and bringing our students back into education, because we don't want them to miss out. These matters can scar them, as Sanjay pointed out, psychologically, but we don't want other scars to be left on them that could mar their future for potentially ever. So we do our best in terms of what we can do, where we can do it. So I understand full well what you're saying, Tam, but I still think the question should be had. I see others in here telling me to big up Dr. Nigel Clark, just to say that I spoke with Dr. Clark, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, and trust me, when I sent him the images and the videos of what people were facing in the western side of the island, his heart sank. So his thoughts and prayers are with us. He is Jamaican. He knows what we're going through, and he is thinking of this country even now when he is in Washington, D.C. So I have spoken with Dr. Clark, and yes, he is just as heart-wrenched as the rest of us in terms of what the country has gone through.
Yeah, indeed, Siobhan. And it's a tough time that the country is going through now, and it is important that, as Bobby indicated, if you vexed with somebody back then, now is the time just to be a brother's keeper. Yeah, that's so important.
Yeah, this is when the country's mettle is going to be tested. How we as a group, as a society, as a culture rises to the occasion and look out for each other as we move forward. I hear Bobby is saying he wants to give a shout out to Sir Cookon, the Council for the Ensom City Division, for what he has done so far in terms of getting his affairs in order and helping those who were in need during the Hurricane Melissa disaster. So we are sending out that special big up from Bobby to you, Councillor. I trust that all is going well and your relief efforts are paying off and you are helping as many Jamaicans as you possibly can under the circumstances. Let's see here, Dr. Clark and Andrew Holness and the JLP entire team to the world. And I see Corby saying, Siobhan, leaders are born, not made. Dr. Holness and Clark are born leaders. All right, Corby, I take your point. We recall the Holness administration's response to the COVID-19 pandemic and the sobering, informative and reassuring methods by which the administration guided us through that unfortunate period of time. And we see it again where Dr. Holness, he's on the ground. He is visiting the communities hardest hit, providing the information through the various state apparatus and the relief efforts going on, and trying to reassure Jamaicans that as things go, we will recover, we will get past this, and the country will be stronger for it.
Yeah, we will indeed. We have to build back and build back stronger, Siobhan. There are a lot of lessons to learn from this, but we're strong people. Yeah, we are resilient, and I know we're going to build back and build back even stronger.
And I want to hear more from those people in Hanover, Trelawney, and the other areas. We've been trying to get in contact with them, but it has been a challenge. Even here at Broadcasting House, the phone lines have been difficult. It's really been an issue, and we hope we can work past it, because I understand the concerns, those who are fretting for their neighbors and their friends who they can't hear from due to the communication issues. And we hope to hear in the coming days, once we can get some level of connectivity back in place, that we can reach out to those individuals and assist them as best as we can, because we know they need the help. The JDF is out there. We have the councillors, the MPs, the state apparatus in its whole, the JCF, all out there trying to do their best to bring the people's lives back into order, and to ensure that in the coming days we get back on our feet after this unprecedented disaster.
Yeah. And I still want to hear from those, if you have any form of communication in St. Elizabeth or Westmoreland, Hanover, that can share any information with us. Yeah, please let us know. I know some people are utilizing the Starlink technology to get some information around. Just today, Siobhan, I saw someone, again, they went live in Westmoreland because they have access to Starlink, and they're sharing some images of, the houses in Westmoreland, and it is not a good picture at all. Yeah, the houses, many of them have been destroyed. The roofs of many houses have been completely destroyed over there in Westmoreland and, of course, St. Elizabeth.
Yes. Just again, listeners, the number is 630-9371-4, 618-6730. If you want to come chat with us, come on. I mean, I know YouTubers like to YouTube, but if you want to talk to us live, I'd really appreciate it. Would love to hear from some of the YouTubers, especially those in areas more troubled by the hurricane. You can come and tell us about what your circumstances are. I'd love to hear. If you need assistance, please come chat with us as well. I'm sure we can get that assistance to you if need be, as we have helped others who needed that assistance in the past.
I see someone in the chat, Jas Perry, or what's this? Jasper Rodney 9279. She's saying maybe it's now time for mandatory property insurance for all homeowners. It's by law, if you operate a motor car,
you must have insurance.
And maybe is it a time that we need to look at property insurance and make it mandatory for those individuals who are owners of property, because it's optional now. But do we need to look in that direction?
Well, I mean, under the circumstances, we can barely get Jamaicans to get health insurance.
Well, that's true. No, that's true.
And I can imagine safeguarding yourself is more important than safeguarding property. And I think less than 20% of the country, if even that much, is properly insured in terms of health coverage. Mm-hmm. So going to the point of getting insurance for your actual property,
it's expensive, man.
I cannot understand that.
It's not Jamaican for life saying it. Property insurance is very expensive. Believe me, I know. I pay it every year, and boy.
But in circumstances, I mean, it's the same thing when we talk about the catastrophe bond. I would say, what if it wasn't there? Some people would question, why are we spending $25 million over a 4-year period on something like this when that money could go X, Y, and Z? Well, the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and let us thank the administration that our catastrophe bond was there now. And the same thing applies on your personal level and on the level of your property. Just because the reason we have car insurance as a mandatory thing is because it's there to cover not just you, but others you may, as a result, end up in an accident with or other circumstances. But you should apply the same principle to yourself and your property in terms of getting those insurance benefits. And I'm sure there are many schemes where you can get all levels of insurance, health, property, and the vehicle wrapped up in one comprehensive scheme. And I'm sure the cost will work out a little better under those circumstances.
I'm wondering also if the insurance company, Siobhan, they have to do a better job at promoting and encouraging individuals to get property insurance. And as you rightly indicated, maybe, just maybe, look at car insurance and try to package it with the property insurance so that people may be more encouraged to get that insurance also.
Yeah, as I said, son, I don't know if that's the problem. I think we in Jamaica, for the most part, we are a day-to-day culture, I would like to say, at the individual level, and we don't do a lot of forward thinking, which is unfortunate. I mean, how many Jamaicans outside of the public service where it's built in plan for their retirement? Not that many, and they should. And it's important. So I think
I see competent Korean saying, why build wooden homes with zinc roof and then have the latest appliances? Build strong homes for the circumstances, then furnish them with the latest and the best appliance.
I think I just addressed that situation again in terms of day-to-day and forward thinking. And it's just, we have our caller, Cedric. Good evening.
Yes. Yes. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you doing?
Hello, Cedric. Good.
I'm in the country as my things are done, but I hear you have a Starlink connection. How can we access that thing?
We have Starlink connection. I don't believe we here at Broadcasting House have Starlink connection. Or are you talking about you would like to access Starlink yourself?
Yes.
Well, as I understand it, Starlink has been doing quite good business since the hurricane, and I think they have a website. Let me pull it up again. It is. I don't know. Am I running ads for Starlink? But it's still Starlink.com JM. It's Starlink.com/JM. So if you're interested in signing up for that service, that's how you would sign up for it. Cedric, you there? Cedric?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
That's enough to thank you.
Okay, all right. You're welcome, Cedric. I see, where was it? I saw something in the chat I wanted to address. Oh, someone is asking me to tease the lines again. Dwayne, the lines are 630-937-124 and 618-6730. See, someone is saying, the Jamaican Fly, the new building code should be concrete house with slab roof only. And we do have codes, you know. We do have building codes. I don't know what the building code speaks to in terms of zinc roofing. I'm not an expert in that matter. I don't know if requirements have been put in place, but I agree in terms of standards for building, it should be certain requirements to protect the property to a natural disaster like a hurricane, especially in a country such as, or up to a certain level. That should be a requirement. I'm sure our codes speak to that in some sense, but even then, when we're talking about informal settlements and informal building, those areas are not necessarily being built up to code. The people just put together what they can in the area and what their circumstances allow. So that is the case there. That's why, as I believe Minister Robert Morgan spoke to us before the disaster about the need to crack down on this matter of informal settlements, because this is one of the concerns when you build in an area that's not necessarily safe or hazardous or risky, and then you build in an informal way where the materials aren't necessarily up to standard as would be required to stand to the natural disasters that we face in the country. This can be the result, where your life is at risk, and we do need to address that in some way in the future. And I hope the minister makes good on that promise when he says that, yes, we will be looking into this matter of informal settlements, especially in dangerous and risky areas, considering our climate concerns.
Yeah, that's so important. Very important.
Let's see here. Jamaica for Life again. We need to do away with zinc roofing, etc. Such an act of God is not covered. Insurance would go broke. but that's not necessarily the case. I would imagine that acts of God, such as a hurricane, is covered by insurance. But I can understand, yes, the premiums would probably be an issue, especially in areas where you're prone to certain disasters. It would become an issue where the cost of that insurance would go up. But at the time, my house is covered by the NHT since I'm still paying my mortgage. So my insurance is covered through that. But after that is paid off, I have full intention to continue coverage through other means, regardless of the cost. It's just looking at what has happened today, it is a sobering reminder that you have to be prepared in any way possible.
Yeah. And I hear people talking about zinc roof, but it's also how it is installed in a Siobhan, because as someone had said yesterday, if you have the proper straps in place, and the type of zinc roof also, it may be able to withstand some hurricane force wind. So I wouldn't totally rule off zinc roofing. It's just how it is constructed.
Yeah, I saw the Prime Minister talk to this matter of roof straps. I'm not familiar with what those are. If somebody in the YouTube or someone wants to call and explain to me what are roof straps in terms of how they assist in reducing the impact of a hurricane, and further how one goes about acquiring them. Are they inexpensive? I don't understand the full logistics and infrastructure behind roof strapping. It sounds as if it could, based on what the Prime Minister said, it sounds like it's something could very much help in a situation such as a Category 5 hurricane. So if you have any information about roof strapping, please reach out. I'd love to hear it, because I would think a lot of Jamaicans would like to explore that as well under the circumstances.
Oh my God, my heart just sank, Siobhan. I'm just getting news that, my mom is safe. Just got a message a while ago. Oh my God, and the entire roof of her house is gone.
Oh no, I'm sorry to hear that.
Just got that message from someone that her roof is gone, but she's safe. So that's some good news that she's safe. But yeah,
I'm sure over time we're going to get more of those stories as news trickles out. But my commiseration, Sanjay. I'm sorry to hear that. In terms of, I'm happy to hear that your mother is safe, but sorry to hear that the loss of the roof. And I hope she is in a place where she has proper shelter and she's okay. But we hope that things get back online.
There's a section of the house that is actually what I call it, slab roofing, the back section of the house. So what the individual is saying is that she took refuge in that side of the house, but everything else, and the majority of the house, it's not zinc. I don't know what you call it, shingles or something like that. But what they're saying is that the entire
you're referring
roof
to a
is
shingle,
gone.
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so the entire roof is gone. Everything is damaged, I'm told. I just told the individual once I'm off air, I'll give her a call just to get a further update from her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who done it? Good evening.
Good evening, Siobhan. Good evening, Sanjay. How's everybody doing?
Here at Broadcast House, I think we're all right. How are things out where you are?
We're basically good, What happened is that it's just that GPS is sort of having some difficulty in restoring. I don't know what is happening, but I don't know their methodology or their management team. I don't know what is happening, but some areas that I don't believe are significantly affected should have been restored. And then those other areas, I can't tell them how to do them right now. They would have brought in additional personnel, as we are told.
Yes.
And they should be able to be dealing with things, but it seems as if they're up against more than they bargained for.
I'm certain nobody bargained for Category 5.
You know what I mean?
I don't even want to use the term Category 5 for such a devastating hurricane to hit the island. I think no one could have prepared for this. So, yes, you're right, JPS is up at it.
I can tell you something, Siobhan and Sanjay, YouTubers, big up on yourself. We have to be very grateful. When I heard that it was coming via, we're going to enter Jamaica land space via, I think, the St. Catherine and Portmore side. I came up from Montego Bay because I have two residents, so I came up from Montego Bay. So when I heard that it was going to via Portmore to go across Jamaica, I was contemplating in heading back down to take my family and head back down to Montego Bay, because I am not going to take a Category 5 hurricane in Portmore now, and it is quite a coastal area again. So when I heard that is a good thing, I never moved Chevron and Sanjay, because then when I keep listening to the Weather Channel, I heard that it was moving south and going westerly. And
that was the initial trajectory.
Yeah, the minute it hit Jamaica, Master Ricardo I cried so much, trust me, because I knew that it was really going to be devastating. Trust me.
When I heard the updated forecast, my heart sank. Oh boy, I didn't know how to process that news other than say, well, all we can do is prepare. I just, outside of, all right, just prepare for what is coming. I did not know how to process the situation at all.
But before I run though, I just want to say that I observe in Portmore, and I wanted to speak about this before the hurricane comes. And now that it came and it passed, I observe where, I don't know if it's Water Commission doing it or they subcontracted it out to a construction company. They have dug a long stretch of hole with the intention, I believe, to put in some water pipes. Because we have seen where they have a construction site set up right near the Texaco gas station there. Right, we have Elsha Road meets the stoplight, and then you have coming from you have Old Brayton Road. But what I found a little bit strange, is that I don't understand their construction methodology, because why would you, in the middle of a hurricane season, you would have gone and dug that stretch and that length of hole? Right now, it is full up to the brim with mud and water. And it's going to take a considerable amount of cost to pump it out, which we, the taxpayers, then have to deal with that. So I don't know if it's the competence or the lack of competence this. Because I remember when we did policy, the shoreline protection with those 30-ton and 7-ton boulders that were put on the Caribbean seaside going into the airport, and then on the right-hand side we have the river shingle. And we install a 1 in 2 to do some sort of a revetment. The project was essentially to prevent motorists and other persons from getting into the Caribbean Sea. Yes, I remember when we were doing it, Bunting said that we were wasting money and we should use money to build schools. That has held up. Now, I believe we don't heard of anything where the water come now, the sea come and meet one another there. So I don't know what is happening, but you don't normally rule of thumb in civil engineering work and excavating. You don't dig out more than what you can cover up, especially in a hurricane season. In other words, what I'm saying, if you're going to put down extra pipes, you work out the length of it, right? You get all the logistics together, and you get all of those pipes. So you dig it out, guys, you put it in, you backfill and you come back and you do your diagnostic check and you put, then you go and you cut again. They don't do this type of construction. So we really want to know who is really the contractor doing that. Is there any oversight body? We need to know. And thanks for having me.
Okay,
Thank
Cedric.
you, God, for saving us, and Jamaica will bounce back.
Okay, all right.
All the best.
All right, thank you, who done it.
Good.
So, we can still take one more call. So if you want to call someone from YouTube, if you're listening, go ahead and call us. The numbers 630-937-124 and 618-6730. I see someone on YouTube saying roof straps or hurricane straps are metal connectors installed to secure a building's roof to its walls, preventing the roof from blowing off during high winds from hurricanes and other storms. Okay, so they're designed specifically for hurricane conditions, and I think we should probably invest in those as much as possible when constructing. If something as basic as that can help in the process of construction, I don't see why it shouldn't be part of the building code if the roof is not specifically concrete or slab. Faithful, you're on the line. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Lewis. Good evening, Siobhan.
Very faithful. Good evening.
Good, thanks. You know, when I heard about the incident in Westmoreland, people dead on the street and have to work and after devastation, I take up on my eye, and I don't cry easily, but it sounds so terrible. And I pray to God where they could get that in the. There are some parts in Westmoreland where nobody
I'm aware, Faithful, yes. There's some places still maroon, still cut off due to either the passage being blocked or the floodwaters still affecting them.
I lose light for about 2 or 3 days myself. And I feel so out of place. Can you imagine those persons? And they have no idea when they're going to get back right and all those things. Right. It's very terrible. And I hope we could come together. And I they said is that if for the first time I get the feeling that Jamaica are together to every person, and that's very good. And I'm glad that at least we can say our Jamaicanness, our oneness as Jamaican people. And I praise God for that. I think that's a really wonderful thing.
All right, Faithful. Thank you for that. Well, listeners, as said there by Faithful, please, even if you're not religious, pray for your friends and family. It doesn't necessarily have to be you're praying to God, but pray for your friends and family and ensure that they're safe. If you can do more, extend that hand of help. I think at this point in time, Jamaicans, even as we get help from international places, we must rely on each other first and foremost, and we must be our brother's keeper and look out for each other. I want to say that at this point in time, anything of those concerns that would have divided us at any other point in Jamaica's history, politics, religion, anything at all, now is the time to set that aside and just say, we are Jamaicans and we're helping our fellow Jamaicans. That is the message that must be put forward today. I see here, let's see. As I said, I'm kind of staying away from the politics. I know some people have their political concerns right now, but please bear with me. I'm trying to avoid those political traps right now. Right now, it is about those who are in need and distress as a result of the hurricane. So I see your points. I hear your views. At a different day, I will speak to some of those, but right now, it is not about the politics.
We can't. We have to at least find a time we put aside the politicking and realize that everyone, we have to work together for the greater good of this country.
I see. Okay, I see more people talking about the inexpensive nature of roof straps. So if they're that inexpensive, why aren't we more widely using them in construction? If it really does not add that much to the cost of constructing a home, it feels like it should just be second nature at this point to just install a roof strap. For example, in Guyana, the houses are built on, as you're probably aware of this, Sanjay, they're built on stilts as a result of the excess flooding that happens there. You don't even have to tell a contractor to do that at this point. They just do it because they realize the circumstances in which they live requires that level of intervention. And for example, I've said it before, I think based on the concerns about drought, hurricanes, there should be, as some people in the YouTube point out, certain standards by which we build our houses now. They should automatically, as a requirement, be built with a tank, a water tank with the proper pump for storage, as well as the proper, as you put it, roofing and construction material to stand up to a high-strength hurricane. That is a requirement. I don't know how much and how well you can plan for an earthquake in terms of construction. I'm sure there are methods by which that is done, but I don't know how much you can incorporate that in a residential property of a certain size. I'm assuming those constructions are for much larger scale buildings in terms of keeping them from tumbling. But in terms of hurricanes, which are far more prevalent and very devastating, we should have certain codes that prevent construction where it would be considered that structure simply wouldn't be tenable in those circumstances.
And over the next coming weeks, Siobhan, I know that also that's something that, is going to feature prominent in our discussions that we'll have, and it's something that we have to consider.
I see, hope I get this name right, Idra Toltos says, about 20 years, there was an earthquake tremor and homeowners got letters from the insurance companies saying they're not insuring for earthquakes. I'm not certain in terms of the insurance market, but is that really the case, that we don't provide insurance for very specific natural disasters that take place. That to me seems very dubious. I'd have to look into that, because I don't have my finger on the pulse, so to speak, in terms of insurance marketing. As I said, the house that we live in is covered by the NHT in terms of loss, because that is part of your mortgage payments. That's in your mortgage payments. But outside of that, is it truly the case that these matters are not covered by insurance?
It'll be interesting to check those over the next coming weeks, and there's a discussion to be had, Siobhan, because the costs involved in replacing those roofs, not everyone will have that money readily available, to repair those roofs at this time. So let's see if the insurance companies will finance the replacement of those roofs.
Well, Jamaican for Life says catastrophe is covered. So that would be interesting to look into the nitty-gritty of insurance coverage across Jamaica. It might even be worth exploring in the wake of Hurricane Melissa, these matters of coverage, because it is important. I mean, you want to encourage people to take up these things to protect themselves in terms of certain circumstances. And it would be unfair to those individuals that we're encouraging to do so, only for them to find out that, well, in this circumstance, you're not covered. That would just be unfortunate.
I'm seeing someone saying roof straps could not help those board houses in Westmoreland. But it's more than board houses, because some of those houses that we're talking about, they're not board houses. The house that my mom is in, that's not a board house. And it's I would say that house was built, maybe about 7-8 years ago. Yeah? Not board house at all.
As I said, I've seen many of the structures that have been impacted by Hurricane Melissa over there in St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, those areas. It's not just board houses that have been impacted.
Yeah.
But I'm getting the wrap-up signal. It's 7:58, and I'm supposed to get out here at 7:57. So thank you, YouTubers, listeners, all who joined us this evening. Again, I say stay safe. Look out for your family, your friends, your loved ones. This is a time where we all have to stick together and try to get through this. Thanks to our supervising producer, Dana Davey, our technical operator, Andrew the Glenn Buggs Anderson. Thanks to the news and production department, led by the very capable Ricardo Brooks and Cara Powell. Ricardo is currently out in the field trying to assess situations for us in those western parishes. I'm sure he'll be back with that information when it is feasible. But thank you all for joining us this evening. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
And my name is Sanjay Lewis. Thanks for all that have reached out, and have yourselves a wonderful evening. Good night.
As a parent,